Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto becomes strongest in Heaven's Highschool DxD Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for Part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Naruto is sitting in his room looking up at the ceiling. Today was a hellish day. Everyone in the peerage he was in was busy and he was left on his own. Hell, his other friend Sona and her peerage was busy as well. The biggest thing about the whole situation is that Naruto was trying to take his mind off what was going on lately. It all started when Rias brought in this new pawn, Issei, into her peerage, and Sona doing the same with Saji as one of her pawns. The problem is that they were spending so much time with them that it was insane in his opinion. When they first joined the peerage, he only needed a week of guidance to get things into perspective. On that note, he had already completed 20 contracts by the end of the month, making him one of the fastest working members in the peerage. But this idiot couldn't even do one without getting written off as an annoyance, or being considered annoying by a client. Hell, he couldn't even teleport, something even newborn children could do the minute they are born. It was annoying, and the fact he was walking around with a swagger just because he was carrying the boosted gear in his body was even more annoying. They had sparred several times, and during those points, even with his sacred gear, he couldn't even come close to him in the sense of solid skill. On top of that, Naruto knew from his past experiences he was given personalized affection from Rias, since he always was staring at her every time they are in the same room as each other. Then there was the case with the nun. While he was there to help them free her, it was a waste of time in his opinion, and at the same time risky. This could provoke the other races into engaging in a straight-out war regardless if she was banished and the fallen angels were being there at the church. Naruto did some digging around and found out that they were there legally, meaning the fact they killed them is bad on them, and it put them in a bad light. While he tried telling Rias this, she ignored it for cheering on Issei and talking him up like he was hot shit. He started walking around with a swagger and started bullying Naruto when he could, while Kiba watched on with some hidden joy. He was in love with Tsubaki, and that meant with her paying attention to Naruto made him angry and resentful. She first liked Kiba, but after Naruto spent some time with her she fell for him instead. Naruto saw something glowing in his pocket, so he whipped out the Gremory family symbol, and out of it came a brown-haired purple-eyed woman that looked a lot like Rias. In fact, if not for the hair and eyes, many would assume this was her sister rather than her mother. Venlana Gremory, the mother of Surzek and Rias Gremory, and the former heiress to the Bale family. She is also Naruto's surrogate mother after his mother had died and summoned her. He remembered the story she told him. Flashback begins. Venlana showed up in a house that once belonged to a dear friend of hers, Kushina. She was rumored to have married someone, but she was unsure who it was other than they were supernatural. On top of that, she mentioned he died at the hands of someone, and he did something for her to keep her safe from them. But her friendship with Kushina is deeper. She was the first friend she made while in the human world, and even after finding out who she was, they stayed friends. Kushina loved Vinalana and was Surzeka's godmother if anything happened. She loved her godson and he loved her, and promised that if anything happened he would be there for her. Right now, sadly, she heard Kushina had died of a disease, but before she did, she summoned her and asked for a favor. This favor was simple: mind her, go to her house and take care of things there. Doing this, she heard something that she hadn't heard since Rias was born, a baby's cry. Rushing upstairs, she entered a small room that was decorated with red and black, and it had a small crib at the end of the room. Lying there was a baby who was crying his eyes out from the loss of his mother. He was beautiful in her mind, blonde spiky hair, eyes that matched her mother's blue ones, and he had a light tan complexion complementing everything else. On instinct, she reached down to the child and carried him out of the crib and started rocking him. His eyes opened up and the beautiful innocent blue was staring at her. She was smiling at this cute baby. He was perfect and anyone in the world would love to have this child. Now she understood what she was asking for. She wanted her to take care of her son as a friend and as someone who knew would love him no matter what. While she just had Rias, it would not hurt to have another child around the house, plus Surzek would love to have a brother as well as a sister. Gathering her magic, she teleported back to the underworld where a red-haired, red-bearded man was waiting for her in a white suit and black tie. "Honey, what took you so long?" Looking at her arms, he saw a small blonde-haired baby looking at him with confusion and interest. "This is the reason why." She smiled at the baby and he smiled back at her with his hands clapping for the attention. Vinalana giggled at this and started tickling the child. "Honey, whose child is that?" "Kushina's little boy. I promised if anything happened I would take care of him." While he was a man of pride, he knew when to bow down. Plus another child around the house the same age as Rias would be good for her. This way she would have someone to play with while growing up in this big old mansion. "Well, let's start taking care of our new son." Vinalana giggled and kissed her husband on the mouth. He was sweet, and he knew that it would upset her and her son if he was to just throw the child out. Plus, he was not that kind of person to begin with. Walking upstairs, they entered Rias's room and saw she was looking up with curiosity at the new child in her mother's arms. "Rias, this is your new friend Naruto. Say hi to him." Rias stared at the boy for a few seconds before reaching out for him. The Gremry had laughed. It seemed his own child was warming up to him quickly. Placing Naruto in the same crib, they saw something that was priceless. Rias immediately snuggled next to him and fell asleep. Naruto also fell asleep with her next to him. This was a sign to the family that he was meant to be with them and be great friends with the Crimson Hair Princess. Flashback ends. Naruto came back from his trip on memory lane and looked at the woman who raised him. While he still loved his birth mother, it was not wrong to say Vinalana was his mother as well. Considering she was the one that cared for him while his mother was now deceased, it meant more to him than anything else. Naruto waited to see her smile and then respond. "Naruto, I need to warn you about something." "What?" She sighed, knowing this was going to anger Naruto more than anything, but he was pretty much her baby. She raised him after his mother died, and more than anything she and her husband hated seeing him get hurt. Riser is coming to Ko in the next day or two, and he is trying to force Rias into marrying her. But I thought the agreement was for her to graduate first. That's a violation of the contract they signed. True, but we are being forced into a corner by the other devils and are not really given a choice about this. Regardless, this means their family owes us something in trade. I mean you guys something since they went back on their contract. Vinalana smiled at her son. While he would never say it in front of everyone else, he was really wanting to be a Gremry while still carrying his mother's name. Sadly, that was not something that would happen for a while, even though she is her child. Look, I need you to warn her about this and tell her to be ready for his entrance. Grafia is being sent there to monitor the meeting and make sure nothing gets out of control. The message turned off, leaving Naruto alone in his dark room again. Sighing, he got out of his chair and proceeded to the school, where he saw Sona and Tsubaki trying to get Saji to pay attention to them. He remembered when he first met the dark-haired uptight king. It was around the time he was 6 and Rias and him were playing chess. She had come over and challenged him to a chess match, seeing him beat Rias, and before she knew it, she lost to Naruto more than 20 times in a row. This signified to her that he was incredibly smart, and by most standards perfect for her as a future husband. Tsubaki felt depression most of her life considering her family outcast her, but she was happy when Naruto bonded with her over this, and slowly that developed into a love relationship. But lately, like Rias and his peerage, were focused on their newest member more than they should have been. Considering he was better equipped than Issei, it was grinding on his nerves. Especially since he was making it no secret he was fantasizing about Sona and Tsubaki, but they kept him in line for the most part. Although regardless, he was alone, and it was starting to take its toll on him, with the rest of his peerage ignoring him for the nun and the pervert, and Sona and Tsubaki doing the same thing for their own version of the pervert. It was driving him up a wall, and a few times he felt his control wavering. Arriving at the council room, he saw Rias was not there, making him ponder where she could be. So flying out of the building, he started scouting through each member's home until he arrived at Issei's house. Inside his room, he saw something that broke his heart and destroyed any form of restraint he had left. Rias was sitting on top of Issei in her underwear, and she was leaning down on him while shouting, "Issei, you need to take my virginity." Naruto knew it had something to do with Riser, but just seeing this broke him more than anything. If he stayed focused, he would have seen Grafia coming into the room, but he didn't because he was falling off the windowsill and down the ground below. He was staring up at the sky, tears rolling down his face, and pain shooting through his body. It made no sense to him. Why Issei? What the hell made him so great that she would throw everything they had away for him? Friends for life, right? Naruto felt his anger boiling. Such a simple lie, and it was something that blinded him to the truth. She never cared for him. Only her own power mattered to her, even after showing him what he was willing to do for her. Gathering himself, he flew away from the house, not knowing that he alerted Grafia to his presence, but she was busy dealing with Rias and her perverted pawn. Honestly, she was shocked Rias would do it with this boy instead of Naruto. The whole house of Gremry knew of his crush on Rias and Akino except for the girls themselves. This was the most upsetting about the whole situation, because if he saw this, then his heart is in tatters and there was no telling what was going to happen later down the line. Naruto was sitting in the middle of an unknown forest, and he was just sitting there with anger flowing over his body. He could feel something stirring inside of him, but he couldn't push it far enough. I hate this world. The power pulsed again. I hate being alone. Once more the power pulsed, and this time the earth was trembling under his power. I hate loving someone who will never love me. Suddenly the seal snapped, and he felt something coming to the surface for the first time in his life. A black and white aura was surrounding his body, and he was causing the trees to bend away from him. Power was overflowing from his body, and it was slowly making him stronger and stronger the more he raged. The forest was falling over and the entire landscape was starting to fall apart until he finally felt something change. His body finally gave into the power, and he felt himself going through a transformation of some kind. But this led to his body finally giving out and him collapsing to the ground unconscious, not knowing someone was watching him from the distance. My, so the chosen son has awoken then. This will be interesting, at least he's cute. Mindscape. Naruto woke up and saw he was standing in the middle of a black void in the middle of nothing. Looking around, he saw there was no one around for a bit, but then he saw something appearing out of the shadows. It was a golden mirror that was shining as if it was made of the brightest metals possible. In this context, Naruto saw he had changed from his usual blonde hair and blue-eye appearance. In front of him was a black-haired teen with black eyes that was radiating power beneath the surface of his eyes. It would seem it has happened. Naruto quickly turned around and saw a man standing there with a blue gi over a red top and wearing some white and orange-tipped boots. He had some white gloves on his hand and his hair was standing like a pillar in front of him, and his eyes matched his current ones. "Who the hell are you?" the man smirked. "No doubt you're Kushina and my son." Naruto was shocked. He never knew his father even from the earliest age. His mother left him a note that his father was trying to hide him away from the rest of the world, considering his lineage was something of legend. In fact, it was because of the old Satan faction that his father's family and race was wiped out, leading to him going into hiding as a child and then finding his wife later on in life before he died at the hands of someone else. "Is that really you, Dad?" The man's smirk turned into a small smile. "It is, kiddo, come here." He held his arms out to him, and his son crashed into his chest. It was the first time in his life he met his father, and he was afraid he looked up he would be gone. Naruto, looking at the man, he smiled brighter than the stars. "Son, I don't have much time. The seal I placed on you is breaking, and soon I'm going to fade away to join your mother on the other side." "But why did you seal me?" "First you must understand our history." Naruto nodded his head and took a seat in the middle of the void. "My name is Vegito, and I was hailed as the future ruler of the Saiyan race, a special breed of yokai that was feared throughout the world. We had the power to use Ki, which is more potent than magic, and the ability to get stronger the more we fight and the more damage we take from the fights. Our species was known for turning into giant ape-like beasts thanks to our tails, and this allowed us to become stronger than most beings in the world. Sadly, this also led to our extinction at the hands of the old Satan faction and my disappearance. But due to this I gained more power, and eventually was able to hunt down some of the people who destroyed our race. The rest were killed by the new Satan faction. Then I met your mother, and we eventually fell in love. Before long we had you. For unknown medical reasons you were born a pure-blood Saiyan and were blessed with amazing power that I couldn't match at your age. Sadly, Ophis came for me and wanted me to join her cause, but I refused. At that point I had sealed away your heritage, but even with all of my power I couldn't beat her. This ultimately led to her killing me, but then I saw a vision, you standing tall over the great dragons and defending our family's honor. That is when I knew it was true, the legends of the Scion of Gold, and it was you, my son. You would become the first true Super Saiyan, and would bring the honor back to our race." Naruto was in awe of his father. He was strong that even Ophis, the dragon god of infinity, tried recruiting him personally. "Dad," looking down at his son. "Yes, what is it? Did you love me and Mom more than your own destiny?" Vegito stood there for a second and then smiled. "Son, there was nothing more important to me than you and your mother. I regret I won't be there to see you grow, but I promise you this, we are all watching you with pride and joy." Vegito started feeling it. "It's happening." Naruto noticed his body was disappearing. "Don't go, Dad, I still have so many questions. Why did the other races fear the Super Saiyan? Why was I born a pure blood?" "Son," Vegito put his hand over his head, "those are questions even I can't answer, but I know this, you will be the strongest in the world. One day even you will become the king that I always knew you would be. Go, my son! Embrace your heritage and become the Saiyan of Saiyans, the future king of the Saiyan race." With that he faded into nothingness while he whispered, "My love, I'm coming, and you and I shall watch our son from the other side." Reality. Naruto woke up and saw he was standing in the middle of the clearing again. He remembered everything that his father told him, and what he was wanting him to do. "Don't worry, Dad, I'm going to become the strongest in the world, just you watch. But first, I need to start training. Maybe I can help you with that." Turning around, Naruto blushed at the sight of a blue-skinned woman with long hair hanging in a ponytail reaching down her back. Her green dress hid it well, but he could tell from hanging out with Rias she was well developed and considered unbelievably sexy in any case. In her hand was a golden staff that was radiating some kind of magic behind it thanks to the orb floating there on the staff. Vados DBZ. Who are you? Naruto got in a stance, but the minute he did she was in front of him and bonked him once on the head. Now, is that any way to talk to someone wanting to help you? Ouch, what the hell was that? Oh, don't be a baby, that was a love tap. Naruto was disturbed. If that was considered a love tap from her, then he was afraid to see what a serious attack was. Who are you? My name is Vados, and I guess you could call me a guardian of this world. I prevent anomalies from destroying the time and space barriers along with keeping the balance among the strongest in existence. Okay, so are you here for me for a specific reason? Of course, you see, I'm here to train you to embrace your destiny. See, our race in general can see the many futures in front of us, and I want to see the one that is best for this world come true. You becoming the strongest in the world and achieving the strength that is required for you to succeed. Interesting. What are you planning though? Simple, we are going to leave this plane and head to another one that is going to help you train to become stronger. However, do note you won't see this world for a while. How long? Because this bastard Riser is coming soon and he is issuing a challenge to Rias, and I need to be there to help. Vados raised an eyebrow at her. Even after she broke your heart? Naruto flinched but glared at her. Regardless of my personal feelings, I will not let that bastard have his way with an innocent person. I might not love Rias and the others like I did before Issei showed up, but I'm not going to sit back and let him win. Plus, I hate losing to someone weaker than me. Vados smirked. Perfect, because we are heading out now and I promise we will come back to the time point where she is fighting in the rating games. It will be fun to have you show up and whip everyone that is left in the match. With a smack of her staff, both of them had disappeared and appeared on a new planet. The minute Naruto touched down on the planet, he felt his entire body buried in the ground and barely able to move. What the hell? Oh, I forgot to mention the gravity on this planet is over x100 heavier than Earth, so you are going to have to focus on standing first. You bitch. Ha, keep that up and I might not cook you some delicious ramen. With that, Naruto was fighting to get back to his feet. He was really trying to stand on his own, but the problem was that it was harder on him. Vados floated away from him and asked herself. Maybe I should have warned him about the hole. His clothes are weighted as well thanks to the teleportation. Nah, he'll get used to it soon. 6 months later, month on Earth. Naruto had spent over 6 months on this new world and he could honestly say that it was tough. On top of that, he spent most of the time working on just moving while also being attacked by Vados when she thought he was taking it easy. First, they focused on him getting used to the weighted clothes and gravity on his body. That took about 3 days for him to successfully do on his own. She finally told him his clothes were also weighed, meaning that he was actually doing more work than he was supposed to, leading to him yelling at her for this. She smacked him in the head with her staff, leading to him landing face first against the ground again. Naruto eventually got to walking around on the planet in which the real training started. He was to first run a few laps across the surface of the planet, which he did multiple times without slowing down. Next, he ran across the world and then eventually he was moving around normally. This type of training allowed him to become faster when he was off the planet and not have to worry about feeling himself being slower than most people, since he was used to more resistance than what is on Earth and in the underworld. The second lesson was focusing on working on Ki in this process of summoning more of this power to the surface. The process began with him forming an orb in his hand and then making them in each hand. Next, he would fire the attack straight into the sky and see the level of destruction he could cause. In about 3 weeks, he managed to do a Ki attack that could erase an entire mountain range with ease. With the attack, he was also able to obliterate anything that came in his way, and she informed him his multiple created attacks that were meant for range were good, but he would now need close range attacks. He agreed and created what he called Ki Blade with his hand. It was like a sword covering his hand, and it was capable of cutting through anything that he wanted. Hell, she even had a holy sword in front of him and sliced it to pieces easily, and he loved it. Next, they focused on improving the rest of his attack style and mastering some more basic motor functions. First, he refined his martial arts skills to the point that it took Vados using her entire hand to block his strikes and to actually focus on him, or he would get a lucky strike near her. He was still nowhere as strong as her, but he was making progress from what she was telling him. One of the biggest things about the progress is that he showed he was capable of mastering some of the more basic moves and techniques while at the same time mastering more devastating moves later on. In translation, Naruto's attacks were to the point he could break bones with a good amount of force in his strikes, and he could even cut off the limbs with the slightest touch of the limb. Honestly, He was stronger than most people in the world she knew of, but he was only at about high class compared to some of the people in this world. Facing off against someone as old as herself, although she would never say her age, or someone who is experienced in war, he would lose just because of the strategy factor. Also during this time she had to admit she grew attracted to Naruto, and eventually they confessed how they felt for each other. Naruto wanted to take it slow after getting his heart shattered by Rias and the others. She agreed, but they still kissed each other from time to time, allowing him to understand his true feelings later on. If he was honest, she was a great person and he would want to be with her for the rest of his life, but he was not sure how she would react to him wanting to rebuild his race. It was something they tabled for later on, what they had to do and what was required for his breed to be pure. Naruto changed from his previous look and was wearing a black and white Black Goku's outfit, and he was standing there with confidence raining in his face. Vados was standing next to him in her usual outfit, and on her face was a proud look considering he had come a long way from where he started, plus, he had a surprise for everyone that saw him the next time he fought. You ready? The match is starting and it will take about 10 minutes to get into the match. I hate the long trip, but let's hope they last that long. Of course, let's get moving. Naruto put his hand on her shoulder, and soon they were gone in a flash of light. Rating game. Rias was having a bad day. Even with a month, she was still at a disadvantage in this match. Her queen was taken out by Riser's queen. Kiba had taken out most of Riser's peerage on his own, but was taken out thanks to Riser's sister, who was his bishop. Issei was useless since he barely could control his sacred gear and use it more effectively. Also, Kaneko was able to take out some of the girls, but she too was overcome by Riser's queen. Really, out of the entire peerage, only his queen and sister were the ones she was worried about. She felt like she was missing someone in this match, but for the life of her she couldn't recall who it was. Ha, face it, Rias, you lost. Too bad your rook is not here to see me take you as my bride. Rias had a shocked look on her face and remembered Naruto. Where the hell was he? Did he not show up? I remember him always glaring at me every time we met. Hell, he threatened to kill me when he met me on the battlefield. It doesn't matter, I'm worth more than him. Issei was summoning his sacred gear and was ready to fight, but his partner was not answering him while at the same time ignoring him for his own personal reasons. You fool, just because you were worth 8 pawns doesn't mean you're better than him. Yubilana and Ravel laughed at the boy as well. It was sad he didn't understand the difference of someone who was part of the peerage since the beginning compared to someone who was only part of it because of their sacred gear. Enough. Riser, I will end this. Rias had a red and black aura around her body ready to kill him. How that's funny. Wonder what that rook that loves you would think about you now. Rias was shocked. Naruto loved her. Why didn't anyone tell her? Honestly, she was sure her queen had a crush on him, and she was confident she cared for him, but she was unaware that he was in love with her. Hell, your queen, the Citri heiress and her queen, he loved all of you along with that little Nico girl. Rias gritted her teeth. After this match she was going to find Naruto and talk to him about this. A glowing circle appeared in the middle of the two group. Out of it came a beautiful blue-skinned woman and a black-haired teen wearing a black and white gi. It would seem we arrived at the climax. The black-haired teen grunted. Vados, get everyone away from here. This is going to be bloody. The woman nodded her head after giving him a kiss on the lips. Of course, Naruto-kun, good luck. The girls were shocked. Hell, the entire arena was stunned. Even Grafia was. That was Naruto. What the hell happened to him? Then Lana was looking at her son and was worried. She had a feeling something had caused this change, and she was to guess it was the whole situation with Rias. It broke her heart. I mean, what mother wouldn't be upset that her daughter ignored him like she did? Naruto was staring down the blonde-haired man. I see you made some changes, but it doesn't matter. Nothing you do will change the outcome of this match. I will be victorious. Riser was trying to get under his skin, but it only got Naruto to smirk. Then prove it, weakling. Quit hiding behind your sister and your queen and actually fight. But then again, you are a bitch, so there is no shame in backing down fighting a real man. How dare you! Riser's wings exploded out of his back and he charged at Naruto with the intent to kill him. This ultimately led to Naruto blocking his attack with the slightest ease. He was only using one finger to block his strikes and he was just floating on air. This was confusing to everyone why he was flying without his wings behind his back. Hold still, you bastard! He flew back and aimed a giant fireball at him. Naruto only watched on in boredom and waited for the attack to hit. Vados had hit him with moves like this, but they were 10 times more damaging than this. The ball of fire crashed into him, making the entire arena think he was dead. Rias was distraught along with the other girls. Kiba was happy since he could go for Tsubaki now, and Serzex was concerned along with Grafia. Venelana, however, was furious. This was a match, not a death battle, and in her mind that was her son he was murdering. She would make sure Riser paid for this even if it meant showing the world who the Crimson Destroyer was again. Riser thought it was over and was waiting for the announcement, but it never came. Then something happened that stunned him. The fireball was being juggled around like a basketball by Naruto. In this setting he then took the ball of fire and ran straight at Riser with it still in his grasp. Riser tried to cause it to explode, but the attack wouldn't respond to him, and before he knew it the ball was sent right back at him. The attack impacted against him, and then the explosion went off, causing the entire arena to shake from the impact of the attack. Naruto floated up into the sky and after the smoke cleared saw the once proud Riser Phoenix barely standing. He was torn up to the point it really made him wonder how his healing was supposed to help him. You know, I've grown bored of this match, and I think it is time to finish this. Ha, as soon as I heal you're dead, you low-class trash. You're nothing but the product of a whore who spread her legs and some drunk fool who got himself killed. The entire arena was silent. Riser's family was angry and embarrassed by his comment, especially since the eldest child was watching this match with boredom and embarrassment in her eyes. Her long blonde hair and blue eyes was watching with boredom, but it quickly shifted to anger after the comment. There would be a reckoning, and it was going to be one that he would never forget as long as he was alive. This is Elizabeth Phoenix, the eldest daughter of the family. She is hailed as one of the first non-Satan people to achieve the status as ultimate class devil. While she did not share her brother's disgusting habit for using his peerage and not seeing low-class devils as nothing, she did find it embarrassing her brother was struggling. But after seeing Naruto's power and features, she had to admit she was impressed by how strong he really was. On top of that, his power showed that he was not someone you mess with, and he was somebody she felt would shatter the barrier around the whole low and high-class problems. But she felt there was something else about him that made him special, but she was unsure what it was. While Elizabeth was pondering this, Serzex and the rest of his family was furious with the comment. Kushina was a touchy subject in their family since she was such a good friend to them. But to hear him speak of someone that they held in high respect just crossed the line for most of them. While Serzex would love to kill him, he couldn't due to his position. Grafia could, but she was not going to since this would cause more friction based on her lineage, and Venelana and Lord Gremory were not in the same boat. They would make sure this boy paid deeply for this insult for a dear friend of theirs and someone they raised. Naruto's eyes were covered by his bangs. He was silent for a second and then the whole arena started shaking violently. Eyes burning with rage were staring at Riser and his aura was pure black with it starting to waver and become more erratic. Naruto finally shouted, "Speak how you will about me, but the minute you bring my family into the conversation and insult their memories you sign your death warrant. Let me show you why you don't fuck with the Saiyan race." Suddenly he was covered in a golden transformation that changed his hair from black back into blonde, but it was more straight up and pointy than before. On top of that, his black and white aura had changed into one that was completely gold with lightning coming around his body. Riser didn't know what was going on, but the minute he changed his power skyrocketed more than before. Naruto closed the distance between them in a flash, and without warning sent him crashing into the ground with a vicious punch. Seeing the boy was barely able to get up, he gathered his ki into his hand and held both bottoms of his palms together, and pulled them back. Feel the wrath of my race and know you never stood a chance. Soon a ball of black ki started gathering in his hands and he started to chant. Kamehameha. He flung his hands forward and within seconds a beam of black and white ki charged at Riser and he was hit with the attack. The entire arena was shaking from the attack so much that the barrier couldn't take it anymore and shattered from the impact of the attack. Once the move stopped, everyone saw Riser barely breathing and both his arms and legs were gone. Naruto floated down to him and slammed his foot on his chest. Surrender or I promise you I will kill you. The teal color in his eyes was showing he was telling the truth, so he croaked. I surrender. Naruto smirked and turned off his transformation. The rating games is over and the winner of the match is Rias Gremory. Naruto felt himself being teleported into the main hall with everyone in attendance. Issei and the others were watching with either fear, happiness, or shock. Naruto didn't pay any attention to them when Rias tried running up to him and hugging him for helping her out of the problem. Thank you, Naruto. Naruto grabbed her hands and pushed her away from him. I didn't do this for any special reason, I only won the match because I'm a member of this peerage. But Naruto, didn't you love me? Naruto raised an eyebrow and figured someone must have told her. While that might have been true years ago, the truth of the matter is my feelings for you and the rest of the girls doesn't exist anymore. Why though? Rias was concerned. What did she do that changed his love for her and the rest of the girls? You really don't know how about this. You ignored me for Issei and Asia, and while I understand they needed help, I figured it would only be for a few days and then you would stop. But you continued to smother him with this affection, and promising him something he would never achieve makes me sick. Then there was the moment at his house that night I saw you doing something I thought you would never do. Rias was shocked he mentioned her trying to give her virginity to Issei. She agreed that it was rash, but she was desperate at the time. Surzex and Grafia were embarrassed, to be honest. This was something they were trying to not tell their parents, but it seemed it was going to happen. Naruto, what happened to you? I saw the truth of this world, and honestly I'm glad I did. I would never have seen my father, and I would not have unlocked my heritage. The legend of the Super Saiyan was true, and I'm a breathing fact of that reality. Naruto, please. Rias tried reaching for him again, but he walked away from her and walked up to Lord and Lady Gremory. Would you mind if I stayed at the manor for a little while? I need time to clear my head. Vinalana nodded her head and hugged her surrogate son. Of course, after everything that has happened you deserve a breather. She activated the teleportation circle while keeping a critical eye on her daughter, showing she was disappointed in her. Lord Gremory sighed. This was something he was worried about. His daughter and the other girls not noticing how much he loved them came to backfire on them, and he now is changing into something else. But it seemed he was close to the blue-skinned woman for some reason, and he was curious why that was. Sensing her power, he could tell she was stronger than his son and probably could destroy the entire underworld if she wanted to, so why is she with Naruto in this case? Excuse me, ma'am, who are you? Everyone was watching the blue-skinned woman with great caution. She got into the raiding game arena without trouble, and the fact that Naruto, or the Saiyan, knew her and liked her meant she was something special in the mind of the boy. Thus anything that happens to her would lead to her having her new love interest killing them for attempting anything against them. Some in the crowd could sense her power, and knew she was stronger than the rest of them, and having Naruto kill them would be a waste of time. My name is Vados, Lord Gremory, and I'm what you might call the Guardian. Guardian of what? She smiled and giggled behind her hand. Oh, you know, the worlds in general. My job is to make sure the universe goes in the direction that I dictate it. Think of me as someone who can see the future, manipulate time, and warp reality to the highest degree possible. The room was shocked by her explanation. This was a monster in front of them on par with those of the strongest in existence. Now that this is over, I must be off. Let Naruto know that I will be coming to pick him up for more training. Wait, how can you train Naruto to use his species powers? She laughed at Surzex, who was standing in front of her with his wife at his side. Simple, really. I'm capable of using his special brand of power myself. Also, you should know that the reason why their race is powerful is not just because of Ki or the spiritual power they use, but because they are master of Senjutsu. Like that, she disappeared in glowing circle, leaving everyone wondering where she gone. But the last bit of information caused some people to begin fearing Naruto, since he was able to use one of the most dangerous arts in the world, and he is capable of gathering enough to make the stray cat look like a child in comparison. Now then, what is it about Naruto seeing something that changed his mind on how he feels about you? Lord Gremory flashed his aura, showing that it was time for everyone to leave, and like that everybody started disappearing except for Elizabeth. She was staring at the head of the Gremory and smirked. She had a plan, and if it worked out things would be swinging her way. Then the fire user disappeared from this world and proceeded back to her manor in order to rip into her brother and promote herself as the future head of the family by any means possible. After all, it was time people could see that a woman could lead a family no matter how they feel about it. I can answer that, Lord Gremory. Grafia walked up to the head of the Gremory family and bowed. When I encountered Rias earlier this month, she was half naked and ready to give her virginity to her pawn to get out of the contract. Rias dropped her head in shame while also hiding the fact she was nearly in tears with what happened with Naruto. He pretty much wrote off their friendship and everything else that connected them. She could see he only saw her as his king and nothing more, and that hurt so much it felt like her heart really did shatter inside of her chest. Sona and Tsubaki were shocked as well. Naruto pretty much dug into everyone that he had a crush on and left them behind. Not only that, it would seem this Vados woman had a deeper connection to him than the rest of them. She even got a kiss out of Naruto, signaling their relationship was where most couples were. Is that so? Well then, son, why didn't you tell me this, or better yet, your mother? You know what she is going to do when she finds out you hid this from her? Surzex paled. While he was powerful, his mother was a monster and could still slap him around when necessary. Sorry dad, but the thing about the situation is, with Naruto missing and Riser being there, it slipped my mind to tell you. Plus, I didn't want the wrong person to overhear this information that would only reflect badly on us. I understand, son, but your mother is not going to be so understanding on this as I am. He nodded his head. Now, young lady, Lord Gremory looked at Rias and her peerage with a stern look on his face. While I understand what happened and why you did it, there were so many different ways to go about it. Just look at what your short-sighted thought got you: a peerage match, embarrassing your brother and family, and to top it all, Naruto saw you costing you his affection. I know, father, but you know nothing yet, dear. But you will, so time for your punishment. Bucho did nothing wrong. It's not her fault he was such a crybaby. This led to Issei getting punched by Kaneko and a mean glare from the other girls and guys in the room, while Surzex had a hand on his shoulder glaring at him. Who the hell are you to talk? Didn't you say you wanted my sister's virginity? That is something Riser would have announced. Issei gulped at the sight of the strongest devil. Enough. This is my point. You can't control your pawn, let alone the rest of your peerage. While I can't take them away, I can restrict your movements. Rias bowed her head, knowing that anything she said could backfire on her badly. Issei had already started making things worse for her. Starting today, you are forbidden from ordering Naruto to be in the same room as you unless you have something peerage-related that needs his attention. Also, you are forbidden from coming to the manor so you can give him his space that he asked for. Furthermore, another person will be moving to Ko to watch over the territory, since both you and Sona have proven you can't handle this responsibility of working territory. But Lord Gremory Silence, Sona. Your parents and sister agreed to this, and they want you to understand what is going on. No one, is above the rules that all devils must follow, and that is something you both have forgotten. The person we assigned to the territory is coming down in a week, and I expect you both to behave while they are there. Is that clear? The girls nodded their heads to his order. Now please leave. I'm going to be heading home to prepare the party for your victory, Rias, even if I think it is not a good idea after what I found out today. Rias bowed her head and tears rolled down her cheeks while she teleported out of the room and back to Ko. Sona and Tsubaki were the same way, considering they both didn't do anything, but yet they did nothing was the problem, and it led to them losing a friend. Lord Gremory arrived back at his manor while bidding his son and his daughter-in-law a good day. Entering the house, he saw his wife sitting on the bed next to Naruto, who was sleeping from an exhausting day. She was smiling while running her hand through his hand. This is how he wanted to see his wife, smiling and always loving their children. While Rias would be getting an earful from her, he knew that Naruto was someone she was going to make sure was loved more than anything. Just like their grandson, he was someone that meant more to her than anything else in the world. Rias was a big girl, and in his mind, along with his wife, they gave her a lot more leniency than they really should have. The moving to the human world, the right to fight against Riser, and some other stuff they kept hidden for different reasons. But this time he was sure his wife was going to show their daughter no mercy from what she did. Plus, who knows what the whole situation has done to Naruto other than reveal him as a Saiyan, putting a larger bullseye on his back if the look of the oldest child of the Phoenix family was anything to go by. Turning to her husband, she asked, "What is bothering you, dear?" He laughed. She was the only one that could tell if something was bothering him. "Just some stuff pertaining to Rias and Sona that you might want to hear?" She raised an eyebrow, and both of them proceeded into a different room, hoping to give Naruto the sleep he deserves. From there he went on to tell her about the whole virginity problem she committed and the fact everything that has happened led Naruto to this point, along with the fact her control was out of proportion with her age. They expected her to control territory without having someone looking over them, and Sona was pushing it, considering she too was not showing the level of maturity for this. "So we are still throwing this party regardless everything that has happened?" Lord Gremory sighed. "Unfortunately, if we don't do this party, then someone is going to suspect something and start poking around the house. This would lead to them discovering the infractions Rias committed, leading to potentially more trouble later on." "True, but Naruto," she looked at his door. "Honey, even if it causes him discomfort, he would be there anyway. You know he carries his position more seriously than anyone else his age does. Something I wish the rest of Rias's peerage could do instead of scrambling around because of their own personal goals." "True, dear." She kissed his cheek and went back to his room. "Still, I hate throwing this party, but I understand. Plus, the stipulations in place are good as well, so if there is anything else, there is my love. I think I know someone that is going to jump at the chance at being in Ko." Vinalana raised an eyebrow at this, and before long she knew who he was talking about. "Why would they have interest there? They already have their own territory." "Who knows, but what I do know, they are interested in Naruto, and this could cause problems later on if they are distanced like they are currently. But if they are next to each other, we can have Rias and the others monitor their activities, and hopefully tell us what they are really after with Naruto." His wife didn't share his confidence having the two of them in the same city with each other. "Please trust me on this, dear." Vinalana relented on his request, because while he was sometimes goofy in his own right, he was a strategist first, and someone that was hailed as a great leader. I understand, just know that if anything happens to him you will pay the price, clear? The sugary sweet smile was on her face, and the crimson black and red aura was surrounding her, showing the threat was there, and it was for real. Understood, dear. The man saluted to his wife out of fear of what she would do if he didn't agree to what she was saying. Vinalana, seeing her point was made, entered the room again, and sat next to her son and put her hand on his chest. He immediately snuggled into her embrace, showing that while he was a dangerous warrior he was still a scared child at heart. Sleep well, my baby, no one will ever harm you again, no matter who they are. I will erase them if they try. Week later. Naruto was standing next to his mother while watching the proceedings go on. It was a massive party, and it was all for Rias winning her first match, even if it won't count down the line. But ultimately this was for the impressive showing and the fact that people wanted to meet the last Saiyan known in existence, along with him being known for being the legendary Super Saiyan. The problem, however, was that some of them were trying to recruit him to their family, and at the same time trying to bring him into arranged marriages. Luckily his mother was able to deal with them, since he was more of the hands-on type when it came to dealing with people. The only person that couldn't be talked away was the eldest daughter of the Phoenix clan. She was eyeing him as if he was some great prize, and while he couldn't sense it all, but there was something deeply wrong with her, like sickly evil. Devils radiate evil aura, but this was something else. She was almost the very monster that her race is portrayed as. It was terrifying in his mind, and he was keeping a close eye as she moved across the room. But she was the perfection she claimed, large that rivaled some of the bustiest women he has ever met, perfect blonde hair that went straight down her back, dark eyes watching him with great enthusiasm. But at the same time she was wearing an outfit that complemented her fully by showing off her and her long legs. Honestly, she was the sight of the room, and every male was watching her with great enthusiasm and lust. Naruto soon saw his king coming down the stairs wearing a strapless red dress that hugged her body and showed off her otherworldly beauty. The only person in the room that could match her was the Phoenix daughter, who was still staring at him while sipping on some wine. It was creeping him out, and he was wishing Vados was here, but she was busy doing her own thing somewhere in the multi-universes. Lovely evening, isn't it? Naruto turned to see the Phoenix daughter next to him, and she was smiling at him with her perfect teeth showing. Yes, but I'm needed somewhere, so if you'll excuse me. Before he could walk off, her hand was on his shoulder, keeping him in place. While he could throw her off, it was a party, and he was not trying to cause a scene. I was wanting a dance, if you wouldn't mind? Naruto gulped. Her eyes were narrowing at him, and her smile was becoming more feral than before. Sure, he figured it was better to do this and avoid the potentially dangerous situation down the road. They both proceeded down to the center of the room, and Naruto and Elizabeth started dancing in the circle while the guests watched on. Rias was also watching on, and she was angry. She wanted to talk to him, but he was avoiding her like the plague. Now the eldest daughter of the Phoenix clan was dancing with him, and it was annoying. The dance soon came to an end, and everyone in the room applauded the beautiful movement they did. But Naruto wasn't hearing them. Something was wrong with this woman. She was radiating something, and it was confusing to him. What's wrong, Naruto? Confused, angry, frustrated? Each word was whispered lower and lower. Yeah, I am. What is the deal? What are you wanting from me? Elizabeth smirked. Simple. She kissed him in on the cheek and whispered something that put him on edge. I want to see how much like me you are. A monster, a demon that is capable of doing incredible damage. Let's find out together soon. The blonde-haired girl released her grasp on Naruto and walked away with a sway of her hips. He felt terrified for some reason, and he couldn't explain why. She was different from her brother, who was arrogant and talked a big game but couldn't back it up most of the time. She was powerful, he could sense that much, but there was almost a sadistic streak that was coming from her. It terrified Naruto. What the hell is wrong with her? Naruto, turning around, his mother was standing there with a worried look on her face. Her son was pretty much terrified at the moment, even if his face was good at hiding it. But she could see the fear welling deep inside of his chest. It's fine, mother. Let's get back to the party. He walked past her briskly to avoid hearing some questions about what is going on. With Elizabeth, she was watching with fascination. She confirmed her thoughts about him being stronger than the rest of his generation, but at the same time being compassionate. That was something she was hoping to change down the line. After all, mercy is for the weak, and there was no place for that. It would come soon. He would come to her side, and she would finally have the prince of the race in her possession. She would finally obtain a throne of her own, regardless if that other woman was in the picture. The goal is to be a queen no matter what, even if it meant abandoning her clan to achieve this goal. Elizabeth was looking forward to this. After all, she had waited for him this long, she could wait a little longer. His mother kept her from this goal for a while by trying to hide who he was, but thanks to some of her spies she knew that he was a Saiyan before anyone else. Sadly, she was too late in claiming him since the Gremmeries beat her to it. But she would see that she claimed her throne. After all, a queen always got her wish no matter who gets in her way. Crack. A body thudded against the floor, and he was skidding across the carpet. He was coughing up blood while at the same time showing fear and exhaustion. They could feel their arms were gone, and their legs could barely move on their own, signaling that he couldn't get anywhere at this point, and it was disturbing for most of them. Riser, the once proud child of the Phoenix family, was beaten and swollen. After his match, he knew that he was in trouble when his parents ordered the servants to inform him that he was to be restricted to the house. He was determined to hunt down the monster that destroyed him and demand payment for interfering in the match when he was already late to begin with. However, they ignored his cry, and when he saw why, the poor playboy shit bricks. After all, there was only one person other than his parents, and his older brother, that could order him to be restrained, and they were not someone you crossed. Elizabeth, the eldest daughter of the family, and the true heir to the Phoenix clan, and regarded by many of her moniker of being the Phoenix of the Damned, since many who have crossed her are either destroyed mentally or they are destroyed physically. On top of that, her flames were different from the rest of the clan, with them being deep red in color and having tints of blue surrounding the flames. No one could explain this phenomenon, but it was a blessing in disguise. Her power was greater than any before her, considering these flames are as strong as the black flames of Amaterasu herself, along with being able to even stop holy magic if touched by the flames. However, he was not admiring this all-powerful sister. No, he was fearful of the sadist she was. Something happened to set her off, and he knew he was responsible for it. While she was kind to the rest of the family, she had made it clear that his habits would come to bite him in the ass. The minute he lost the match, she was furious, and made it clear that they would be having words about the whole situation. What she called having words is what the rest of the family called training, which in reality was a chance to beat the shit out of him and force him into the ground. He tried to fight back early on, but realized that it was pointless since he couldn't deal with her flames, but she could absorb hers. This terrified him, and he was begging for someone to stop this torture. "You just had to run your mouth, didn't you? You just absolutely had to do this stupid stunt." Walking over to him, she dug her black heel into his back with authority. "Sister, please, I'm Dash." She twisted her heel deeper into his spine, causing him to stop and scream in pain. "I don't want to hear it. Here is what's going to happen. I'm going to list your transgressions and whom they are against. You're going to stay there and take your beating like a man that you claim to be. But if I had my way, I would be making you my sister instead." He paled at the threat and the sadistical look in her eyes, with her being more focused on him thanks to the sight of the fire burning in her eyes. "Personally, I'm going to make sure that no one in this family crosses my will again. I've had my eye on that boy since he was a child, and I personally promised myself to destroy anyone that would come between us." Removing her heel from Riser's back, she pulled him up to look her in the eyes. Then with blinding speed she smashed her fist into his stomach, sending him crashing into the wall and sliding down with a thud. "Now for the transgressions. First, you started acting as if you are the highest order in the underworld when you've done nothing to prove this. 2. You insulted the Gremmery family by going against them and forcing their hand with Rias, automatically putting us in a bad spot with other nobles. 3. You've been whoring yourself out to everyone around you, and that alone makes people think low of our clan. And finally, you admitted to the fact that you were set on forcing her into this marriage while basically making it out to be a rape situation for her." Elizabeth ran her hand through her long blonde hair and stared at her brother with boredom. "How you are my brother is a mystery to me, but make no mistake about it, I know everything that goes on in this house. Like you were planning on getting even with Naruto after he viciously destroyed you for the comment you made about his family. Hell, Lord Lucifer has pretty much made it clear to my family that if he hears that insult again, then that can be classified as slandering their family, and that would mean you get executed. But sister, he really is trash. I mean, his father is dead, and so is his mother." Another punch to the stomach forced more blood on the floor and her stalking away from him. "His father died because he was killed by one of the top beings in existence to hide his son from the rest of the world. The boy's mother died when she was infected by an unknown disease when he was nothing more than a toddler. Knowing this information, I would have brought him into our family and made sure he was a member of my peerage, but his mother, Kushina, beat me to the idea and had Venelana coming for him instead. While this is a wrench in my plans, I can still make things work out for the best because there is a reason for this." Turning back to her brother, she grabbed him by the throat and stared into his eyes. They were glowing with power, and the fire coming off her body was immense, causing Riser to fear for his life at this point. "You see, he is the last of his race, meaning he is the prince. Now think about it this way, he is a prince, meaning he needs a princess, therefore I'm the one he would marry and have children with. I've been obsessed with him since I first laid eyes on him, and I personally can't wait to see what he does next. His father was a handsome man, while meaning he should be much like him later on." Dropping Riser on the floor, she could only pity the poor boy. She laid out all of her reasons, but she was sure her brother was not happy with them. But it didn't matter, her goals were the only thing that were worth anything. If he dared oppose her later on, she would make sure that this beating was a sweet memory to what she would do then. So to better illustrate this point, stay away from Naruto or I promise, I will kill you for crossing me. Twirling on her heels, she walked out of the room and saw that her parents were looking at her with fear and worry. Her sister Ravel was also scared out of her mind at seeing her sister treating their brother like this. Another thing, Roval was standing a bit away and he was just looking at the floor. Knowing her brother, she knew he was going to say something about either the beating or what she had planned for the scion. Was that really necessary, sweetie? Turning to her father, she sighed. While I took no great pleasure in his suffering and beating him, it was. He needs to understand how the world works. He can't behave the way he does and not expect consequences. Plus, this is partly your fault for not listening to my warning about spoiling him like you did. While her father was angry with the comment, he couldn't really fault her logic. Still, this seems over the top in my opinion. Elizabeth glared at her mother, causing her to cower back a bit. See, this is what I'm talking about. You can't see the faults you are making because you are still holding on to this concept that he's some child still. He's not. That Brad is a full-grown adult and should be treated as such. If he preaches about the pride of the Phoenix, then he needs to learn what happens when you embarrass the family like he did. It can't go both ways, mother, please understand that. Turning to her sister, she kneeled down to her and smiled. Don't worry, Ravel, as long as you don't act like your brother, there is nothing to worry about. Then she remembered something, which reminds me, I had brother trade your piece with my own bishop piece, meaning you are with big sister now, isn't that exciting? Elizabeth gave her a beautiful smile, and that made Ravel smile as well, since she knew that she would learn more under her sister's training than her brother's. If Ravel was honest, she couldn't stand Riser and his bad habits. Not only was it her job to monitor the whole peerage, but it was also her job to organize their strategies in all the upcoming peerage matches. Even so, he would throw the plans out the window and going for the usual option of having most of his pieces sacrificing themselves while at the same time working only to weaken the other peerage, allowing him, her, and his queen to take out the rest of them. Seeing the last match, she knew for a fact that her brother was stunting her own improvement, and it was not helping that his habits had become public and shamed most of the family. Even Rovo was disappointed in him, and he rarely will say something like this considering he loved his family deeply and always wanted everyone to be themselves. Elizabeth stared at her brother Rovo, seeing that he was staring straight at her this time. But the difference was he was flaring some of his aura at her, causing some of her own to flare back. The thing is that her brother is strong, stronger than most of the people in the household, but she was still better. Not because she was just more skilled or more powerful than him, even if that was true, no matter how close that ratio is. But the fact of the matter is that he couldn't control her flames no matter how much he tried. Brother, he glared at her before walking past her, whispering. You might be right, but this method of brutality is uncalled for. No matter what you do, sister, you can't outrun the fact you lost. Elizabeth's eyes sharpened at the fact he was right. Years ago she was too slow to grab Naruto, and that left her with having to try later on at this point instead of having him bond with her over time and making him her queen. He was the rook of that bitch Rias, and it irritated her along with the fact he had his heart set on her, and the other girls in the peerage, and that Sona girl and her queen. Don't ever mention that to me, brother, or else. Her eyes turned into slits and started to glow with a golden hue to it. This was something that she feared more than anything else in the world. Losing Naruto, in her mind he was her soul mate, and she would have him. No matter what, she would take him and bond with him to the point that she was his queen first. It didn't matter if he had concubines of his own, but he would be her husband and the future king of the race that he was trying to revive. Her whole world revolved around him, and with this new opportunity arising, she was sure that he would slowly start to become his. Even if he stayed that loving and caring person, the truth of the matter was that she was willing to care for him even then. But she would persuade him to take a more brutal approach dealing with weaklings that crossed her path. You're mine, Naruto. You just don't know it yet, but you will belong to me. Anyone that dares get between us, well, they will suffer the consequences for it. Naruto was shivering lately. Something was giving him an uncomfortable feeling, considering he felt like someone was chasing him. Turning around, he was sure nobody was around, considering he could sense magic no matter where it was coming from. Only the truly strong of senjutsu users could escape his sight, considering their aura was different from normal people. Sighing, he entered his classroom and quickly sat down at his seat in the back of the room, away from everybody staring out the window. He had been in town for a few days and he was already bored. He learned a spell that could turn him back to his normal looks while also making sure he didn't change entirely. It was only for appearances in this case, since him having new hair color and eyes would raise too many questions. Plus, he did miss his old looks, and it was something he prided himself about, considering this was how everyone knew him and the appearance his mother truly adored. Lately, he had been bothered by almost everyone in school that was related to the situation he was in. Rias was the first to confront him about his changes and what he said during the party. While he was trying to be nice to her, he was losing his mind dealing with the constant harassment. She did not like being told no, and at the same time she seemed to finally get the hint of his love for her, but it was too late. He was over her in a sense, and wanting to finally move on to his own love life. He still loved her and the rest of the girls, but he could honestly say he was over them. No matter what they said or did, he would not change his stance on how things were. He tried to get his feelings out of the way while at the same time he was trying to get his other thoughts together. While loyal, he still refused to do everything his king required him to do, considering he felt they either violated his personal well-being or they were forcing him to open up when he didn't want to. It got even worse when her queen or rook joined in on the whole thing, and Sona and Tsubaki got involved as well. Akino was trying to bond with him like they did when they were younger. However, after seeing her flirt with Issei and smashing her into his face all the time to get him motivated, left a bad taste in his mouth. On top of that, they always had a few days where they would hang out in the human town with each other, and she missed all of their appointments for the last few weeks. On top of that, she also made it seem like she was not trying to bond with him during her time, and even threatened to hit him with lighting while trying to motivate Issei to train. This left a sour taste in his mouth even if he was bothering her while she was busy. Kaneko, the sweet Nico, was trying to bond with him like they used to. She was the only one that suspected he was a yokai due to his unique signature, but he was honestly not the same as her. This led to him wanting to be farther away from her because she was like Akino, only not smothering Issei. But the fact she blew him off for him left him pretty bitter also, especially since she hates perverts, but seemed to be willing to bond with him either way. She even let him get away with running around with Asia's underwear when she was showering in the clubroom's shower instead of punching him. She just called him a pervert where he did it once, and she socked him in the gut, so yeah, there was that double standard that annoyed him. Finally, Sona and Tsubaki. While they were not as guilty as the rest, they still had their faults. Whenever he was trying to talk to them after they threw him to the side for Saji. Even after saying he was ready to do things on his own, they clung to him like flies clung to shit. The times he tried bonding with them again over school stuff or personal stuff, they just snuffed him, and it was annoying. Ultimately, the school was hell, and he was trapped in it with people he didn't really care for anymore, considering they all were pains in his ass. Looking around, he saw Rias and Akino entering the room, and they looked worse for wear. Rias's hair seemed to be out of place at some points, and she looked like she had been crying for a while. Akino's eyes were bloodshot, and she seemed to be on edge as of lately, and it was something he knew would lead to confrontation by the rest of the students. Rias took her seat to his left while Akino took her seat behind him, and each of them were looking at him with imploring looks. What? Naruto, can we talk after class? Naruto snorted. There is nothing to talk about, and plus I promised Gasper I would pay a visit since he hasn't seen me in the last month. Gasper, poor kid, he was a crossdresser that only wanted to be left alone in his room. The biggest thing about him is that he was someone that hailed as a powerful individual if he could only learn how to use his sacred gear properly. If he actually managed to do that, then he would have been a critical part of taking down Riser's peerage and might have led to a victory without him having to intervene in the match. Sadly, he lost control several times in the past, leading to very serious political problems, so it was voted until she was ready he would stay locked up in his own private room. The peerage could visit him, but he was not allowed to leave the room no matter what, or that could be classified as treason. Out of everyone in the peerage, he was closest to Gasper because he knew what it was like to be out of place with people around him. Plus, he did look cute in his girl outfits, and Naruto was the only person in the world that would help him shop for those looks. Hell, he bought him several outfits that he is wearing to this day. While he knew that most males would think this is a bad thing, Naruto believed in living as yourself and having no regrets later on in life. At least that was reinforced after he had his heritage come to the surface. But can we at least talk after that? Naruto sighed. Rias was playing this hard to retrieve git, and it was grating on his nerves. He was honestly wanting to train with Vados, who said she had a new regiment to work with. Plus, she mentioned to him that she lied about the gravity in the other world that they visited and told him that it was 10x not a 100x. It was just a lie she made him to work harder. But she did mention that his clothes did help almost simulate what 100x normal gravity is like. No, look, this is not something I'm comfortable with right now, so could you please just leave me alone? Naruto turned his head away from Rias, and he could feel the sadness coming off her and Akino. This, however, led to a pack of horny fanboys to surround them both and start trying to kiss their asses. Rias was taking this with dignity and was either shutting them down or ignoring them altogether. However, Akino's voice carried the most weight in the room. You know what, brats, I have one thing to say to all of you. Turning her eyes on them, they were shivering in fear at the sight of her being more sadistic than usual. While she was flirty, this was more of the pissed-off girl and wanting to stomp a mudhole in your ass kind of stare. All of you can fuck off. Can't you see that hitting on us is not going to get you anywhere or even close to us dating you? For the love of all things, I would never consider dating any of you. You're too weak-willed and wanting to please me that I find it repulsive and disgusting. All you brats care about is getting into my and my friend's pants, so take the message and run with it. Find a cock and stick it up your ass, or I promise the next time you bother us you won't have to worry about me because you're going to have my foot shoved so far up your ass that you become part of my legs. Now get lost. The whole room was quiet, and some of the girls were shocked at what they heard. Hell, Rias was stunned silent. She knew Aquino was on a hair trigger lately, but to think this would happen was insanity. The boys ran out of the room scared out of their minds or crying that one of their idols would say those mean of things to her. Some of the girls were staring at her with shock, and some of them who swung the other way were now thinking they had a great shot with her. Naruto personally was shocked more than anyone. He had never heard her talk like that, and it was something that terrified him considering she was not making things easy for everyone. After all, she created a false image for so long that this would probably destroy it. One where she was the kind and caring big sister of the school and someone that was sexy beyond belief, while at the same time she knew she was not in a good mood. The teacher finally walked into the room and saw the entire class was silent while some of the students were gone as well. Ignoring this, he began the class lesson, not knowing the tense situation that was brewing inside of the classroom. Dimensional realm. Vados was enjoying her time watching her boyfriend take care of things in the human world. Honestly, she is proud to say that he was her boyfriend, considering she had never been in the love thing that most people she heard people talking about, considering she was always concerned with how others would treat her for different reasons. Most people that found out about her power and position were only interested in trying to control her or using her to improve their own position in the world. Naruto, however, he didn't care who she was or what she stands for. He was only interested in getting to know her better. While it was few months in the dimensional bubble they entered, the truth was that they agreed only the day before they left to get together on an official basis. She loved how he didn't want to rush things and take it slow in order to avoid potential problems. Plus, he was still hurt emotionally by his friends, considering most broke his heart with how they acted, and honestly she understood why they were doing those things in the first place, but no matter what she tried he was stubborn to believe it. In fact, he has made it clear that he won't ever admit he was wrong about the whole thing, because all things that he did the girls should have realized how much he meant to them instead of hiding out from the fact or ignoring the hints. Summoning some of her magic, she watched as he was now on his way to the gym, and this meant she could watch him shower. A small blush appeared on her blue face, and was excited to see what was coming in the near future if she had anything to say about it. However, she felt someone appear behind her, and this was an aura she knew all too well. It was black-haired child with a gothic Lolita dress and some black tape over her, and she was staring at her with boredom on her face. "Ophis, what can I do for you?" The woman stared at her for a second and then responded. "Why are you here, Vados?" Ophis was many things, but even she knew that Vados represented a higher order of power in the universe, and even fighting one of them could have serious repercussions. Especially considering they have a connection with the Gensis, a powerful sentient being that if messed with could lead to the destruction of the entire universe as a whole. "I'm here watching the boy that interests me and hoping to not be bothered." Vados knew while not the strongest among all of her siblings, she was definitely stronger than Ophis and Great Red, considering this was her universe to monitor. Her brother was monitoring another universe, and her twin sister named Hikari, while looking similar to herself, she was different in appearance in terms of having short hair and wearing a blue dress, was monitoring another one as well. The only stark difference between them was that Vados was more inclined to serving some god rather than being a god in her own right. "Who is the boy?" Vados frowned at this and answered. "Naruto, he is the son of the scion you killed." Ophis raised an eyebrow at this and hummed. "Interesting, I wonder." Before she could finish, Vados appeared in front of her and had her staff slammed into the ground. "Let me make one thing clear, Ophis. You dare put a single finger on him, I will kill you." Her body was glowing with a blue and white aura, signaling she was going to back up the threat, and she knew she could. "I apologize, I didn't mean to make it sound like I was trying to get something out of you or finish what I did. Truth is, I never meant to kill his father, I only did it because I was desperate to recruit him. Regardless, my stance has not changed. You stay away from him unless necessary, or you will receive a thrashing like the last one." Ophis nodded her head and walked out of the universe world they were located at. Sadly, she would not be going with her demands and trying to bring the boy to her side. But she would exercise caution when confronting him about joining her and taking out the great dragon. Vados turned back to the orb and sighed. "Knowing Ophis, she'll ignore my orders and just go for it. But there is no doubt in my mind, A smile broke out on her face. Naruto, you will be the one that changes this world for the better, and I will be there with you every step of the way. Ko. Naruto is sitting in the occult research club looking over the rest of the club that was either talking about contracts or current affairs in school. Apparently Issei had mellowed out after seeing him thrash the Phoenix brat that fought him and nearly killed him at one point. Doing this, he knew when to back away from something that was already belonging to someone else. Past the perversity, he might actually be a decent human being, but he was going to keep a close eye on him to make sure he doesn't do something that angers the girls. Kiba had been pissed off lately, and if he had to take a guess what caused it, most likely this odd presence he sensed in the city. He couldn't explain it. While it was human in a sense, it was giving off the form of holy magic, as if it was carrying something that was powered by light magic. This most likely incited his rage against a holy weapon, and then he attacked the person and got his ass thrashed by said person. Naruto felt no sympathy for him. While he too held great rage at everyone around him, the truth of the matter was he got over the emotion a while back. He just didn't care to cloud his mind with unnecessary thoughts because there is a concern of what he was going to do. His match had several nobles looking at him with great interest, and many were calling for his promotion to high class, but he knew that it was not going to happen soon. Once he did, he would not have to be around his old peerage and finally be allowed to find his freedom. Rias coughed into her hand and soon she announced, "As you all know, there are some exorcists that have appeared in the city and they are wishing to discuss something with us. Naturally, I can't hold the conversation since me and Sona have been considered too young, and some of our past actions have reflected badly on our control. Thus this means our new advisor to the school and territory will be dealing with the problem. She should be here soon." Rias soon saw a blue crest appear in the room, and out of it came Sona and Tsubaki, who both looked as serious as usual. Both girls walked up to Rias, but before they could say anything, another transportation circle appeared, and out of it came a familiar blonde-haired woman who Naruto had been on edge with since he first met her. Elizabeth was looking around the room with boredom until she landed on Naruto and smirked. "Well, it's been a while, Naruto. How have you been?" "Good, and you, Miss Phoenix?" She smiled sensually. "Now there is no need for such formality, just call me Elizabeth, dear." Issei was drooling over the blonde-haired woman and was thinking so many perverted thoughts at once. But this incited her anger, and she said, "Don't say a thing, little pervert, you shall call me Lady Phoenix, got it?" Her eyes were burning with pure power, and she had flames appearing around her body. This got a pale-faced Issei to bow his head to the ground and beg for forgiveness. "Now then, shall we greet our guests and get this meeting over with?" Naruto snorted and rose to his feet. "Do you mind if I miss this meeting? There is something I've been meaning to investigate lately, and I don't think I will get a better chance than now." "Well, I could let you miss this meeting, but what am I getting out of this whole situation?" A smirk was plastered on her face, and Naruto sighed. "What do you want?" "Simple. I want the one thing that I've sought after and most men who harbored feelings for me wanted from me." The room was blushing and looked on with rage, considering they knew she wanted Naruto's virginity, and she was willing to give him her own. "I can't give you that, considering I promised it to Vados and she would destroy everyone in the room if she found out." "Fine then, I want a date then." Naruto thought it over and nodded his head, and she motioned for him to go. Out the window, Naruto gathered up some of his ki and flew away from the building and headed out of Ko to the nearby forest range that surrounded the city. Arriving there, he landed on the ground and said, "Come out, I know you are there. I've been feeling your presence for the whole day." Out of the forest came a black cat with gold eyes on its face was a smug smirk. "You are good, most can't sense my presence no matter how hard they try." There was a burst of smoke, and out of it came a purple-haired woman with dark skin and golden eyes. She was looking over at him with a smirk plastered on her face, and she was wearing a black bodysuit that showed off her amazing beauty. "Who are you and what do you want?" Naruto was gathering some ki into his hand and was readying for her to attack. "Simple, I'm here to test you and see if you really are one of the scions." In a static blur, she was gone and heading straight at Naruto. But before she could land with a vicious hook, Naruto had flew away from her and fired a baseball-sized ki shot at her. There was a massive explosion, but she was unharmed since she got out of range of the attack. This led to Naruto gathering more ki for another attack, but this time he was firing 2 balls at her instead of 1. But she was just dodging with ease before launching herself into the air and throwing a vicious heel kick at his head. Naruto grabbed her ankle and threw her back down to the ground below. Impressive, but this is far from over. Summoning some nature energy, she gathered it in a set of purple balls and fired them at Naruto. He quickly dashed through the air and was dodging the attacks with fluently. Doing this, he saw the woman was chasing him while running across the ground with a serious look on her face. While faster than him on the feet, she couldn't fly, giving him a serious advantage against her and the speed she was showing off. Summoning more Ki, he gathered it at the tip of his finger and fired it in small quick beams that were exploding the ground and trees below him. But the purple hair woman was doing a great job of dodging, considering she was avoiding all of his attacks with ease. Naruto finally gathered his Ki into his hand and lowered himself onto the ground before she appeared before him. She smirked. Finally stop fighting long range? Yeah, but in this case I'm going to show you while you are fast I'm faster and craftier. The smirk turned into a full-out grin, and she was eager to test his power and his bold claim. Breaking off in a sprint, she was heading straight at him with some senjutsu gathered into her right fist, but her danger senses went off. Quickly getting her feet on the ground, she backtracked and saw there was a cut on her singlet with his hand glowing purple from the given energy. I told you, while you are good I'm better. We'll see. Again the woman was good in a sprint, but Naruto could feel her presence around him. She reappeared behind him and threw a hook at his head, but Naruto ducked under the attack before sending his left foot into her stomach. She had her free hand block the kick that sent her flying backward before she was forced to lean back and avoid another swing of his Ki sword aiming to decapitate her. While floating in the air, she fell backward and brought her right leg up and aimed it at his head, but he tilted his head slightly and avoided the kick before floating again, slamming his right leg into the side of her stomach. Ultimately this led to her flying away from him again, but she managed to regain herself and land on her feet. But she was trying her best to balance herself. Damn, you are good. I mean, I knew your species was strong and considered by many the strongest, but I never would have guessed that you would have this level of strength. Don't fool yourself, I've not used my full power yet. Gathering some of his Ki, he turned into a SSJ, and this caused the purple hair woman to back away, considering she could feel the power coming off of him. It was insane, and it was making her wonder if it was a smart idea to fight this teen. Enough. Both of them turned over and someone appeared out of the foliage. A blonde-haired woman with gold-slitted eyes was staring him down. If he was bold to claim she had a beautiful figure that was only rivaling that of Vato's in pure beauty, but the difference was that Naruto could see this woman was a yokai like himself and the woman in front of him. She pointed her white Miko-covered arm at the woman. What the hell you doing, Yorichi? I told you to talk to him, not fight him. I know, but after hearing what his species was I couldn't help myself, plus I wanted to see if he had the strength to go with his natural good looks. Naruto dropped his henge and looked at both women and glared. What do you both want? The blonde-haired woman bowed. Forgive me and my associate, my name is Yasaka and I'm the leader of the yokai faction and wanted to speak to you. After all, you are the last of your kind, and it would be wrong to not at least speak to you about some personal matters concerning your race. Plus, my parents have decreed if any of you were found I was to get in contact with you as quick as possible. I get that, but what is the deal with the purple-haired woman? She feels odd. She should. She is a nekashu. Naruto raised an eyebrow and saw her produce black cat ears and 2 black cat tails. So are you a natural purple, or is the curtain black while your hair is fake? Yorichi smiled. Want to find out? I would, but I think it's time to get down to the matter at hand. Yasuka nodded her head and tried hiding the blush on her face from his blunt statement. Indeed, listen, I wish to talk to you about some things you might want to know about your race. Please, would you come with me back to Kyoto? I need to talk to my king first before I did something like that, but if you are willing to wait a few minutes I will be right back. Then we shall be here, Naruto. Naruto bowed his head to them and took off into the sky. Are you sure you want him here, Yasaka? I mean, while I get it, do you really think he can help? Yes, the Cold family has been opposing me for too long, and it is time they are shown the power that can be wielded by the Scions, especially considering it is their fault they were hunted down and killed. True, but are you punishing the whole race? Yasuka shook her head. No, only the main family. They have grown arrogant with some of their members, and it is time they are punished for this. Of course, and I shall be there to assist him with dealing with the resistance they might have built while at their compound and on their grounds. I know you will be there. Now we wait. Naruto. Rias, I need a favor. Naruto appeared in the window, ignoring the exorcist standing in the room. What is it? Naruto was about to open his mouth until one of the girls coughed. You are interrupting this meeting, devil. Naruto turned to the blue-haired girl with a green stripe. When he saw her reach for her blade, he summoned his Ki and brought her and her partner to the floor, barely able to breathe. Most of the people in the room were like this as well. Do not speak to me as if we are equals or you are better than me. Know your place in this territory, considering we can make sure you leave in a body bag for threatening us. Indeed, Elizabeth was hiding the smirk on her face behind her hands and was watching the whole thing boiling out of control. Honestly, him showing off his power at this rate was great, and she was hooked on his aura alone. Now Rias, turning back to his king, he began, I need some time away from Ko. I had a run-in recently with the yokai leader, and she was wishing to speak to me. She brought a nekishu with her, and as far as I knew there are only about 2 in the world, but it seems that is not true. Rias and Elizabeth were shocked about Yasaka being in the city, but the Phoenix got over it considering she knew that the yokai faction had rights in Ko, considering Japan was their home turf first, and they were within their rights in staying here and entering where they please as long as it didn't violate privacy boundaries. Naruto, are you sure you want to go with her though? Yes, this is a great chance for me to work out some personal issues I'm having and to find out more about my race and their history. I won't be gone long, maybe a month at the most, so please let me go. Rias was torn. While she wanted him to stay, she knew this meant more to him than anything else. He really wanted to learn more about himself and his race while at the same time working more around the idea of being stronger than before. Plus this meant he would have time away from her, and maybe that time away he would miss her and the others and come back to talk about the problems they were having. She would miss him, but the love for him and wanting to make him feel better and warm up to him was outweighing that feeling. Okay Naruto, promise me you will at least write back when you can. I will, my king. See you as well, Sona and Elizabeth. I promise I shall return in the time frame I've made. With that he flew out of the window, leaving behind a confused and saddened room. Elizabeth, however, was neither of these things. Only one thought crossed her mind at this point. This is going to be interesting. I wonder how he is going to feel about meeting the race that destroyed his and caused him his grandparents? Yokai and chaos. Naruto had been walking with Yasaka for the last day, and things were slow in his mind. Apparently their city was protected from people that would teleport without her knowing or blessing. So the gods put a spell on the city and the area to prevent devils from just appearing in their kingdom unannounced. So they had to settle for walking back to the capital, Kyoto, and honestly Naruto was annoyed. While he could have flew there, Yasaka asked he didn't, to try and not draw attention to themselves. That idea was more annoying considering he was not trying to draw attention, he was going to draw attention either by flying or just walking into the city with her. He knew that the yokai were going to be able to tell he was a Saiyan due to his aura. Apparently from what he gathered, most yokai can tell who is part of what race if they scan over their aura that is always surrounding all living beings. Thus they will be able to confirm that he is Saiyan Prince that was lost many years ago after his father was killed by Ophis. But that was not what he was thinking about. Apparently Yasaka needed a favor from him, and it would seem that it was a big one. The minute he contacted his mother, Venelana, about this deal, she told him to go, considering this was a chance to improve relationships with the yokai thanks to the massacre of the Nikomata/Nekishu race a couple of years ago. Ever since they killed them because of one girl, they were out for blood and demanding answers from the devil race. However, the issue with this demand, most of the purebloods were set in their ways that one of their own was killed by one of the Nikomata race, so they had every right to punish their race. But did that really mean that one dead devil was equal to an entire race that is near extinction then? Naruto didn't think that was the case. He thought that it was just some dirty, blood-hungry and rapist devils that wanted a reason to do this, along with wanting to cover up the fact they raped some of the Nikos in the world. From what Surzex told him a couple of years ago, ever since the incident, Yasaka has been less than happy with even talking to him, let alone letting him anywhere near her city. The Shinto gods were furious too, more Inari since the yokai were her responsibility. So when he and his wife got word about this deal, he asked him to try and smooth things over with the devil race as a whole, but Naruto informed them that might not be possible. One thing Naruto learned while being in the Gremry family is politics, and he knew that politically he had no leg to stand on. What was he supposed to do? Ask her to forgive them for killing, raping, and slaughtering an entire race for one devil that was a pompous asshole? Yeah, that would go over well with her and the rest of the yokai, might just get him killed if he was unlucky. No, Naruto knew that no matter what he was going to do today would not allow him to smooth things out about the issue. Most likely he could ask for some small favor, such as maybe a renewing of the alliance they once had or to speak to the Shinto gods about this deal, but that was as much as he was willing to push it. Plus, him being among devils for so long, he knew that he was pretty much an outcast even among yokai. That terrified him. He's never been around other yokai other than the ones that were devils already, and even then their interactions were biased. So being around those that either had no love for devils or didn't care for them was going to be interesting. From what he gathered from some historical books, there was one family many years ago who ruled the yokai race and was considered the names devil arrived from, but they disappeared centuries ago, leaving a power problem for the yokai race. Eventually the Kyubis took control of the problem and ended the power vacuum that was left behind. Yasaka finally stopped walking and turned to Naruto in front of a shrine, smiling. Welcome to Kyoto. Upon waving her tails, the air shifted around and out of an illusion came a beautiful city sitting there with bright lights and colors. Walking the streets, he saw children of different yokai races and familiar families. Also, he saw different classes walking around, from nobles to those that were running the trade stalls. It was such a diverse place that he was amazed of the different races that were seemingly mingling together, as if it was a common thing as breathing. Shocking? Turning his head, Naruto nodded to Yoruichi. Yeah, to think there is a place where multiple races can live in harmony. I never imagined it. Don't they have that in the underworld? No, Yoruichi. While people will make you think that, the truth is that there is a great divide between devils. Those that were born into high-status families look down on servant families or families that do not hold a title of their own, to the point that they can spit on them and do horrible things to them, and no one would bat an eyelash at it. They sometimes rape and murder the mid-class and low-class devils only because they can, because they carry some kind of fancy name and title built by their ancestors. It honestly disgusts me that something like that is tolerated, and I personally could care less about the idea of politics and power based on bloodline. In my eyes, power is all that matters. One's power should be the deciding factor of one's status in life. If one is strong and is willing to push his limits every time and do whatever he can to provide for his family and friends, then they should be loved and respected. I see. Yasaka joined into the conversation while ignoring the people bowing to her and pointing at Naruto. They were shocked a devil was there, but they could sense that he was yokai, so they were willing to adhere to her bringing him into their city. Then tell me, do you think Lord Lucifer is doing a horrible job along with his friends? Naruto didn't need to be a censor. She was looking for some doubt in his mind about the devil race as a whole. But he was prepared for this. No, I think he is doing the best he can with his friends. However, there are times where I think they make the wrong choices and those decisions weigh heavily on them. I believe that Sirzex forgets that while he needs the respect of the people, he does not need to be a tool for the council to use to protect themselves. Do I think that power is all that matters in terms of controlling the world? No, but I think it is important. If you have the strength to say no and to do something, you should do it, because if you don't, then who will do it? Very good. Yasaka turned her head. She smiled at his answer. This is the reason she wanted to meet the boy, because he was adding insight into something she was not sure of. While she respected Sirzex, how he handled the Nico issue was disgusting and she wanted answers. At least she knew that someone disagreed with his decisions. While Naruto didn't say it out loud, he did make it clear that he was unhappy about the situation as a whole. But he mentioned that his power is what mattered to him, so she could see that he was not wanting power to just have it and rule over everyone and kill everyone that angered him. No, he wanted power because he wanted to be the one that would be able to step up when no one else will and fight for what is right. An honorable scion if she ever saw one, and that was saying something, since his father and grandfather were the same back in their youths. She only heard the stories about them, but she was honestly wishing they could see the child that was born of them and be proud of him while watching him grow as a warrior. Soon they walked in silence while heading to the palace. Upon arriving, they were searched, with Naruto getting rough-handled by some people that resembled white lizards that had purple glasses in their heads and having straight horns coming out of their heads. He saw a few hated his presence while the rest were sad or neutral to him. Entering the throne room, Yasaka sat on her throne while looking down at Naruto, who was standing there with his arms crossed. So, Lady Yasaka, can I ask why you wanted to see me? First, I would like to ask, do you know what happened to your race? Naruto raised an eyebrow. I know we were killed off, with my father managing to escape and survive on his own for the longest time. That is true to a degree. The truth is that your family was betrayed. What do you mean? Naruto was feeling his ki rising, and it was not a good feeling in his mind. Years ago, about the time I first became ruler, there was a prophecy given by an elder sage. He predicted a great golden warrior would rise from the Saiyans and lead the next generation into the light. While most considered this a misgiving, I knew that this was going to spur problems in the future. Then the problems came when one of the yokai clans attacked your family with the assistance of some devils from the old factions and some other species. From what I gathered, most of the devils were killed, and so were the extra races. Sadly, it was the cold yokai that killed off the rest of your family, being the only ones that could match you family in power. Upon hearing of their death, the death of your grandfather, and the disappearance of your father, I grew furious. I demanded answers from Cold, but he refused to answer me, claiming I had no place to question his way of life. But I quickly fixed that tone by removing his head from his shoulders, leaving his oldest son Cooler to run the clan. While most of the clan has been quiet, I know that the royal branch is still monitoring me and planning something in the shadow. So is that why you asked me here? Yes, the truth is that I fear that Cooler is going to try something soon, and I want all hands on deck for when it happens. When he attacks, I want you there to fight him and help us kill him and remove the royal branch of his clan. The branch family has informed us they are surrendering to my soldiers and are coming in quietly, so we are going to give them a second chance. However, Cooler, his brother Frisia, and the elders that make up the royal branch are to be executed, no excuses. I see. Well then, if this is going to happen, I'm going to need some time to train in private. Of course, my grounds are available to you, please use them at your discretion. Naruto bowed to her and said, Very well, I shall assist you, but after this I would like to have a single request if that is all right. I will hear it after I make sure my people are safe. Clear? Naruto bowed his head to her and walked out the door, heading down the hall to find the training grounds. But while he is wandering the hallways, he sees a small blonde-haired girl with 9 golden tails watching him behind a pillar. She looked like Yusaka, making him think it must be her daughter. Smiling at her, he kneeled to her and smiled at her. What is your name, little one? The girl was hesitant at first but finally came out of the shadows and shyly. Kanu. Naruto smirked. She was a lot like Gasper. It was adorable. He knew how to win her over. Summoning a summoned circle, he had a bag of candy in her hand and she gained sparkles. How would you like to get some candy for spending some time with me? The girl grinned. Just like Gasper, show him some sweets and he will do whatever you want him to do. Wonder how he is doing? Ko. Rias was sitting in her office. She had her hands in front of her face, contemplating everything that had happened in the last few months. First, the raiding games turned into a mess thanks to her rushing into it without waiting for Naruto. She literally threw him away to try and get Issei to unlock more of his sacred gear, and the worst thing she did was try to sleep with Issei, so that added to the fire that Naruto thought he was a tool to her. From that perspective, she could understand why he was angry with her and resentful at the same time. But that didn't bother her as much as what happened over time with her and Sona as well for favoring their pawns and thus driving him away. Second, the whole losing her territory was a big bug for her. But she and Sona had shown weakness in running the territory through different means. One being the attack on the fallen angels at the church. Yes, they attacked her, but only because she interfered in a contract with Azazel that her brother set up and not mentioning it to her. Apparently Rainier was supposed to bring Issei to him, and so he can help him with his sacred gear, but instead she went against his orders and killed the boy. Thus leading to her resurrecting him and then adding fuel to the fire, attacking them at the church. That was bad. She didn't have a reason to go there other than recruiting the nun that the boy liked so much. There she also caused tension with the church for reviving her, and thus leading to her brother having to put out those fires. Third and finally the worst part, Naruto himself would not talk to her or anyone else. Kaneko was more depressed and never ate the sweets laid out for or even bothered to show up for some of her clients. Akino was shutting herself up more and more as time was going on. Kiba was just being an asshole, and she was hoping one day he would let go of his jealous grudge against Naruto for having Tsubaki before him. Finally Asia was crying, thinking she was responsible for the whole thing, but she was assured by Lady Phoenix that was not the case, considering he held no ill will against her being a new devil. Gasper didn't even know, so she was waiting to break the news to the poor boy, and Issei just didn't have a reason to be angry because he was at fault for most of the problems going on. He did make it clear that he knew that he was interested in her, and he was trying his hardest. That day she tried to give him her virginity to avoid it because he respected Naruto and didn't want to hurt the guy more than he already had been hurt. He did admire her body, but after seeing what happened and how he had feelings for her, he agreed to only look and not touch. Sona was in the same position as her, considering her sister tore into her about her reckless actions. How she was too focused on one pawn and her life as a student council president to notice the boy that was wanting to be there with her. Tsubaki got the same treatment, and this led to both girls taking some time off the council to try and get their thoughts together. Speaking of them, they walked into her office with the rest of the girls. Rias. Sona, how are you doing? She sighed. I would be lying if I said I'm fine, because I'm not. Naruto? Yes, I want to make it up to him and apologize for everything, but he is not making it easy for us. Agreed, but unfortunately he is out of town working with the yokai right now. Sona was shocked. She was not informed about this, but then again, her not owning the territory anymore meant she was not required to be informed about such things. Why is he there? Not sure, to be honest. Apparently Yusaka wanted to speak to him, and he saw it as a chance to get some time away from us. I see. Well, hopefully we can speak to him when he gets back. Rias nodded her head and wiped some of the tears still coming down her face. Most days she was crying and not even noticing the tears until she touched her face. She wondered if this was just what Naruto went through and someone was forcing her to go through that same feeling. Yes, but for now we just have to wait until his return. Brother mentioned that mother was most angry with me and what I did, and she was coming to the school soon. Something tells me if she is really angry, then I'm going to be punished to the highest point possible. I forgot, your mother loves Naruto like a son, doesn't she? Yes, she found him as a baby after befriending his mother. Hell, we literally grew up in the same cradle with each other. I see. Yeah, I remember my parents telling me I would cry every time Naruto was moved out of my grip. I would cry until he was with me again. Ria smiled at those memories and wanting to go back to them to tell herself to never let go of the young prince. Yes, about everyone in her family knew about his family lineage and his status among his clan or himself. He was the rightful prince of the Saiyans, and that meant whoever was going to marry him would be the queen of the race no matter what race they come from. So she knew that was why Elizabeth was so set on being with Naruto, considering she wanted to be a queen instead of just another Phoenix clan member. Good news though was that she knew that Elizabeth beat the shit out of Riser for embarrassing their clan and making it clear he was not to come after Naruto or be turned into a woman. So want to play some chess? Ria smiled, and soon both of them played several rounds of chess, with Sona winning all the matches. While this is going on, Elizabeth is going through her dresses trying to find the right one. She was looking at dresses she knew that was going to sexually allure most men and at the same time showing she was a beautiful woman with more to offer than her. She was aware that most males in the underworld and some women watched her as they bounced when she moved around. More in the sense, wanting to look down her cleavage every time she passes somebody and bends over to get something off the floor. Truth be told, she had an amazing body overall, a nice ass, amazing well-shaped hips, flat stomach, flawless hair, dazzling eyes, and a voice that could turn men into puddles beneath her. Elizabeth, however, knew that was not going to be the case with Naruto, considering many things. First, he never blushed at her when she was nearby and never looked down her dress. Second, he was protected by his mother Venelana, and that scared her a bit. While she was sure could take her in a fight, she did not want to test the rage of an angry mother protecting her child. While Naruto was not hers by blood, growing up with her, she was treating him like any child would and loved him unconditionally. Finally, the biggest problem is that she knew that she needed something special for her to get this date and become an official couple with him. While she was concerned with other women, more specifically Rias and the other girls and Vados, coming into the mix, she wanted to be one of his main girls. Someone that powerful was going to attract other women, but she was going to be one of the top 2 girls there, or at least someone higher than the rest but beneath Vados to be more exact. She knew that woman was top of the relationship ladder, but she was not going to be bested by anyone else. Finishing looking at her dresses, she threw them into a corner, thinking none of them were good. Then she saw it, a perfect dress for the evening with Naruto when the time came. She smiled and hung it off the door hanger to be kept and ready to go in an instant. Now all she had to do was wait for him to come back. 3 weeks, Kyoto. Naruto was sitting in the training grounds meditating, trying to focus more on his ki at this point. During his time in Kyoto, he had a lot of time to get his thoughts together. More in the sense of his powers and why he was not advancing as much as he wanted prior, and that problem was simple. He smacked himself for it: creativity. He could summon a blade of ki on his arm and could do different ranges of attacks, but he needed to develop more moves to expand his growing arsenal. Just today he mastered his new move and was ready to test it out on his enemies, but he had to wait for the attack. While he was spending time outside of training, he bonded with all 3 women of the palace. Yoruichi became a regular sparring partner, and someone he traded flirts with most times of the day. Then he bonded with Yasaka, who showed she had a seductive side when she almost successfully seduced him when he accidentally fell into her side of the hot springs. He felt his hormones demanding he mount the beautiful woman, but he controlled them, telling them that he was saving himself for Vados as part of their arrangements several months ago. But his last relationship was one that warmed Yasaka's heart, one with her daughter formed between them. After giving her some sweets, she wanted to spend time with him, and wanting him to make her more candy. This led to her bonding with him and finding out more about the Prince of the Saiyans. She grew to call him her older brother and always wanted to be by his side. Naruto had to promise her some playtime after he was done training or talking to his mother to keep the girl from crying most of the time he was around her. Spending time in Kyoto was fantastic, and learning of the different factions that were living here as well was something to admire. However, he knew that something was brewing in the background. The Cold Clan, the ones that were responsible for his clan's near extinction, had gone quiet and were not sighted around the city. Thus the guards were getting anxious, and Yasaka worried as well, because while she was stronger than King Cold and Frisia, his youngest son, Cooler, was a different thing altogether. He was a monster compared to the rest of his family, while always staying ready in his final form, but it was rumored he had another form even more powerful than that one, waiting for an opponent that was worthy of seeing it. Knowing this, Naruto trained harder than ever to raise his power level when he would need it against that monster. There was an earthquake. Turning his head, Naruto saw the palace was being attacked. He knew that today was the day. He flew to the palace to stop Cooler from causing upheaval. At the palace, Yasaka guarding her daughter, and Yoruichi standing next to her, were glaring down a man standing there in front of them. He was purple in body, white bone-like armor around his body, and he had dark eyes that showed arrogance and power. This was Cooler, the current head of the Cold Clan, and considered by many one of the strongest yokai in the entire world. He was here, and now he was ready to wipe out the Kyuubi before taking the city for his own and rule as the sole king. Cooler. He smirked. Yasaka, such a pleasant day, isn't it? This is the end of everything that you stand for. The day the Cold Clan finally takes its place as the strongest yokai in the world. Finally, we will do what you couldn't and end all the other races that are beneath us, starting with those filthy humans. He aimed his finger at her, but she growled. You think starting wars is the best course of action? Do you not understand the power difference between us and the other factions? You'll lead all of us to extinction if the Shinto gods don't destroy you first. He continued to smirk. I'll take my chances. He fired the beam at Yasaka, but before the attack could hit someone, knocked it into the wall, causing a hole to form. Staring down, he saw it was the Saiyan he heard rumors about. Filthy monkey. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Lizard freak. The man snarled. Today is the day I end your pathetic line. Naruto snorted. He could tell from the power he was radiating that even if this was only a small portion of his power, he was more than powerful enough now to defeat him. He didn't need to transform for this fight. So gathering up his own ki, he fired a single ball at him, which he deflected. But he then felt Naruto smash his fist into his face, sending him flying out of the palace. Stay here, Yasaka. Yorichi, I will take this. Naruto took off to find Cooler and saw him floating above the ground. He was boring down at him. Not bad, brat, but not good enough to defeat me. Naruto smiled. Really, then I shall up the ante then. Naruto started powering himself up and was covered in a white and black aura. He took a fighting stance and Cooler smiled. Good, I would hate killing you without having some entertainment to tell the others about. He soon was covered in a black and purple aura of his own and held his arms at his side. They stared each other down for a split second before Naruto closed the distance and threw a vicious hook at his head. But Cooler caught the punch and moved him to his right. He then retaliated by bringing his hand up to slash Naruto's face, but he ducked back and sent a dropkick into his stomach, sending him back. He spit up some saliva and was grunting in pain. Cooler was impressed. The brat was stronger than his brother by a long shot, and maybe stronger than most of his ancestors. But he was not taking him seriously yet. So he would start after seeing exactly the extent of his power in this form. He regained his balance, and then was hit on the back of his head with an axe handle strike, sending him into the ground. Naruto smiled but saw he regained his bearings quickly and charged at him. He didn't expect a vicious headbutt to send him flying into the sky higher before he came around and started throwing some punches into his face. While floating in the air, he then flipped in the sky, sending him crashing into the ground with a vicious thud. There was a small crater forming from all the damage he was doing, but Naruto was only slightly hurt. The attack packed a wallop, but it was not anything he hadn't felt when facing Vados in their mock battles. She could easily send him flying with nothing more than a simple slap across the face, and that was her calling it a love tap. Getting his bearings, Naruto snarled. You're annoying cold. Same monkey, so let's start getting to the real fight. He gathered some of his ki into his finger and held it up at Naruto. He saw a purple beam come out of his fingers, coming straight at his heart. But Naruto saw the attacks coming and was slapping them away. Cooler reacted to this and appeared in front of him and slammed his fist into his stomach, causing Naruto to gasp in pain. He then was grabbed by the tail and lifted off the ground while Cooler taunted him. Not bad, brat, but not good enough. I will enjoy killing all the people you care about, and those stupid devils will be one the top of my dash. The minute he mentioned the devils, Naruto felt his mind explode. So acting on instinct, he bit the man's tail, causing him to scream in pain before releasing Naruto from his grasp. He blew on his tail where the bite marks were, but that was a mistake because Naruto was preparing his own attack now. He put his hands together with his palms pointing outward while chanting Kamehameha. He fired a black beam of energy at Cooler, who took the blast head on and was sent crashing into some trees while having been caught in the explosion. Naruto took a moment to take a look at the damage and saw Cooler coming out of the tree line with some scratches on his skin and some blood coming down his forehead. Again you surprise me, monkey. I guess the rumors were true. Your power is truly worthy of the legend of the Scion race. But this is where I get serious. Behold the final transformation of our clan. Cooler took a stance and soon he was covered in his aura while having it waver around him wildly. His body got thicker than before and soon he had his armor growing bones out around his body and shoulders. Soon his head was covered in a white helmet, his red eyes being only seeable on his face considering he now had a white face mask to cover up his mouth. This terrified him considering the power he was showing was out of this world. If he was honest, this could rival even Surzex at full power when he felt it one time, but he was not sure if it was the same level or not. Cooler laughed. Now bear witness to the strongest yokai crushing your body. Before Naruto could move, he saw him appear in front of him and slam his fist into his stomach, causing him to cough up spit. This led to him slamming his free hand into his head, sending him flying, but he was caught by his ankle and slammed into the ground. He disappeared again, and now came down on his sternum, nearly breaking his ribs in the process. Naruto tried to get his bearings, but he was not able to, considering the man just picked him up and threw him across the grounds. He laughed at his pitiful state, but Naruto got back to his feet even though his vision was blurry. Gathering his purple Ki again, he delivered a full-on charge against the teen, sending him flying again, but this time running almost through him to do it. He didn't know what was going on at this point until he saw him gathering Ki to make some disc-like weapons to fire at him. Naruto quickly gathered up some Ki to dodge the attacks and fly out to get some distance on the man. But he was already ready for this and appeared above Naruto to send him smashing into the ground with a vicious downward strike to the head. Naruto managed to stop the impact, but he only damaged his legs in the process, trying to keep from hitting the ground face first. Cooler figured it was time to stop playing around with the brat, so he held his hand up and gathered a powerful Ki orb in his hands. It floated above his hand's surface while growing to the size of a meteor. Try and block this. If you dodge, it will destroy the city of Kyoto in a heartbeat. He threw it down, supernova. Naruto acted on this, and quickly tried to stop the attack by putting himself in a Ki barrier around his body. There he was pushing the attack back, but it was slowly getting closer to the ground. With a bit more Ki, he pushed it into the sky and soon was caught in a massive explosion that covered him and sent shockwaves through the land. Naruto barely survived the attack and now was on the ground, clothes torn up and burnt bad. His shirt and top were gone, leaving him to show his bruised and burnt upper body, while his lower body was mostly consisting of his torn up baggy pants. He looked up and saw the man was smiling down at him. So this is the greatness of the man of legend, how disappointing. I guess this means I can let you watch as I kill everyone you care about. He felt a fireball hit his head and saw that it was Yasaka's daughter. She came all the way and was covering Naruto. You leave Naruto and I alone. She was glaring at the man and he laughed. Oh, you want me to stop hurting him? Fine, then I guess you can take his place then. Die, child of Yasaka. He aimed his fingers at the girl, causing her to freeze in fear but not move. If she died protecting her brother figure, then it was worth it in her mind. Yasaka and Yorichi arrived to see what was about to happen. Either was fast enough to move into range to save her and Naruto. Couldn't know! Naruto felt rage boiling at the surface and finally he snapped. He felt his power rising to the surface and soon he turned into his SSJ state. The attack hit both of them, but when the cloud of smoke cleared up, Naruto was standing up holding his hand out to stop the attack. The group saw his eyes were teal, his hair golden, and his body covered in a golden aura. But the thing that stood out to them was not the power he was radiating but the look on his face. Pure rage was flooding his eyes and his face, and Cooler knew that something was awakened inside of him. Hate me and I will take it. Threaten me, that is fine. Destroy my race and I will take it. But he glared at the man and his aura exploded even brighter, causing the ground beneath him to crack under the pressure, and Kuna to look up and see that he was getting stronger as time was going on. If she was to hesitate to guess, she would say that his power was greater than her mother's, and quickly bypassing the monster facing him. Threatening Kunu and the ones I love, now I'm angry. He shouted in rage, forcing his aura to blast more rubble away and expand the crater he was lying in at one point. Time to die, Cooler. He disappeared from his vision and sending a vicious flying hook into his face. He flew away from him after the punch, but Naruto was right on top of him, slamming him with punches across the face and slamming his foot into his stomach to send him back to the ground. After an explosion from the impact of the attack, Cooler got his balance again and started charging at Naruto with his aura activated. Two hands stopped his charge, sending him flying into the ground with a vicious thud. Naruto had directed his attack away from him before gathering more of his Ki and firing a single ball at him, causing a massive explosion to shake the ground. Cooler appeared out of the smoke and gathered another supernova attack and threw it at Naruto. He snorted at his attack and without warning kicked the attack into the sky, breaking his spirit more. How is this happening? You are nothing. Nothing but a stupid monkey, so how are you able to match me? He charged at Naruto again and started throwing different punches, but he was blocking the attacks or sliding them away from his face. This led to Naruto hitting him once in the face before hitting him in the throat. Cooler choked a bit on his own saliva before he felt Naruto quickly slamming his heel into the side of his head, making his head move to the side. You know, the reason your race feared us was not because of our transformation. It was because you feared us, because the more time that passed the stronger we got. This would lead to your demise down the line, and you couldn't stand that someone out there could surpass your race in raw power. Naruto dodged another sloppy punch by moving to the side and letting him fly past him. See? Even now you are slowing down due to the fact you hit your barrier, whereas myself, I've not even come close to hitting my end. I can do this all day while you're barely standing. No! I will not lose to you and some filthy mutts that don't deserve to live. He turned to Naruto and gathering the rest of his Ki fired a single powerful purple beam at him, screaming, You will die. Naruto sighed before flying above the attack, letting it soar into the heavens without any restraint. Time for you to die, Cooler. So please enjoy this new move I developed. Cooler quickly closed the distance and started trying to slug it out with Naruto, but he was countering his punches, either slipping under him and slamming his blow into his stomach, or by sending a vicious punch to his jawline. Doing this, he then waited for him to get into range and kick him in the head or the stomach whenever one was open. This pattern would go on for a while until finally he managed to judo throw him away from him, allowing him some freedom to get some distance. Gathering the ki into his two pointing and middle fingers, he fired it into his stomach, and not only did it penetrate, but it held him in place. Naruto smiled before pulling the blade back and charging at him and shouting, "Beam sword slash!" In a flash, he cut the man in half, leaving him falling apart from his waist, being disconnected to his torso. Seeing this and that he was still alive, Naruto flew beneath both pieces and gathered his hands in one more attack. Feel the full power of my favorite move, Kamehameha X20. The attack itself not only sent the black beam into both of his body parts, but it incinerated his body in seconds, leaving nothing behind but ashes. Naruto laughed. That fight was too close for his taste, and he never wanted to repeat the event ever again. But the exhaustion and pain finally caught up to him, and he fell from the sky, losing his transformation, only to have Yoruichi to catch him in mid-fall. She looked at the teen and smiled. He was fast asleep from his injuries and expelling all that power at once. She turned to Yasaka. "What are your orders, Lady Yasaka?" She saw her leader was checking on her daughter, who was wanting to check on Naruto. She could only sweat drop as the two argued over who would watch Naruto during his time of resting. "My lady?" "Oh right." Yasaka forgot her argument with her daughter and quickly turned to Yoruichi. "Gather my forces and order them to take down the Cold Clan. All will be brought before the goddesses and be judged by them. Take the special runes with you, won't you?" "Yes, my lady, let me put him in our medical wing at the palace, and I will get to it." Before the queen could argue, she was gone in a purple blur, leaving her and her daughter having identical pouts on their faces. "Not fair, Yoruichi. I wanted to take Naruto-kun to the palace. I wanted to help an Aizen." Both Kyubis raced back to the palace, while Morikuni riding her mother's back while she was running through the forest after her friend. Few days later, standing on a hill overlooking Kyoto was a boy who had two black point horns, a purple and pink-like body, wearing the same armor as Cooler. He was glaring down at the city, watching as his clansmen were arrested and dragged to the royal palace. Frisia, the brother of Cooler, knew he couldn't afford to head down there and get caught. While he was confident he could take most of the army, he knew that power-wise he couldn't face the queen or her knight Yoruichi in a straight-up fight. No matter the disadvantages against Ki they might have, they could use senjutsu to even the odds, which made it harder for him to win against them. Plus he knew that compared to his brother he was nowhere near as strong as him, even in his full power state. So instead of getting arrested, he ran while the elders were being either executed for fighting or trying to run. Damn that Saiyan and his bitches. If he never existed, then we would be ruling this village. They will rue the day they betrayed my family. I swear it. Really now? Turning his head around, he saw someone with silver hair and red eyes staring him down. He could feel this man was more powerful than his brother and father by a long shot. "Who are you?" "A man that is interested in helping you with that dream of yours. Name's Rivzium Lucifer." This brought Frisia into shock. He heard about this man. They say he was the true definition of devils, killing whoever he pleases, taking what he wanted, and doing as he pleased with the world, and only wanting to see the world burn at this point. He wanted to see what true chaos would be like and how he could profit from it. The rumor is that he didn't bother with the previous war because he found it too boring to deal with at the current time. He was power incarnated, and that terrified him, considering he knew one wrong move and he would be dead on the spot. "Why are you here?" The man laughed. "Well, isn't it obvious? I'm here for you, my boy. You see, I know what you are feeling right now. I hate the man that claimed my name and title many years ago, but I knew raising a war with him would be troublesome. True, I could kill him one-on-one, but that is not the point. He would bring his allies and some of the other races to fight me, and that alone would turn the tables on me and lead to my death. So I've been gathering an army to fight with me to take him out and finally destroy the one person that stands in my way. At the same time, I want to bring the world into chaos so as to understand the new world that I will create." "I don't get it." The man laughed again. "I'm a devil-eyed boy. I kill who I want to kill, rape, steal, and commit sins that would turn even the darkest people into quivering children. My goals are to see that the world experiencing the same chaos that I do when I'm out doing my own thing. Sadly, that won't happen yet, considering I need help, and that is where you come in." Huh. Frisia kinda got where this guy was going, but was not clear on why he wanted him. He wrote it up. The man was insane to a degree and was trying to communicate to him through some dialect most insane people do. Your power is great, but it can rise to higher limits. You want to destroy those fools for what they did to you and your clan. Well, I can help you with that and promise you that you will get your chance to kill the boy that did all of this to you. Frisia grinned. The thought of killing that Saiyan was tantalizing for him. He could imagine as he lay dying and he killed the other yokai and devils he held dear. But he would do it after taking time to gather more power of his own. Alright, Revisium, what do I need to do? The man opened a portal. Follow me and I shall introduce you to the Cows Brigade. Frisia walked to the portal but turned around and growled. Be ready, monkey, I'll come back and kill you and everyone you care for. He then walked into the portal while Revisium smiled. He just got another pawn to play with, and it was one that he was going to make sure was ready for whatever comes their way. He disappeared into the portal, laughing all the way back into the unknown. Azazel. The fallen angel had just finished watching the fight in Kyoto, and if he was honest, it was terrifying to think the child has only known his heritage for a few months and was already this strong. He was growing at an accelerated rate, but then again his race were warriors and this was common among them. Fighting was in their blood and anything to do with fighting and they would grow from it. However, he noticed that the boy was already at the point that he was about to make another breakthrough. If that was the case, he would need to be ready in case things go south with the whole Kokabeel thing. Plus he had the person for the job to prevent another war breaking out. Entering his office, he saw that person sitting in a chair. Caulifla, how would you like a special assignment and the chance to finally meet the Saiyan Prince? Training and returning home. Naruto had recovered after a few days in bed, but it was not because he needed to be there longer. Yasaka and Kunu were insistent that he stay in bed longer, that way they could take care of him. More in the sense that he was to stay there while they were playing doctor or feeding him food. He was touched at first until he saw Yasaka wearing a sexy nurse uniform, and then he knew what was going on at this point. She was trying to circle in on him as her mate, and Kunu was imprinting herself on him as her father. That was something he was not prepared for, more sensing that Yasaka was sexy, but he was already in a complicated relationship with Vados and Elizabeth. The last thing he needed was this. So after getting cleared to leave, he started upping his training to further make sure he was ready for future threats. With the threats of the Holy Swords project coming back from what he could guess, and the signs that a powerful fallen angel is running behind the scenes, he needed all he could get to be ready for anything coming his way. With Yoruichi, he increased his training and speed with her to make sure he was ready for whatever came his way. He knew that power was important, but if you are faster than your opponent, you could make them waste time on attacks that never hit you. This would lead to you finally being able to set them up and even beating them into the ground without any real resistance. So within time he mastered most of his speed, where she told him that he was probably faster than her, and she was considered the fastest in the world next to only a handful of people. Most of them were like gods, so they were always going to be superior to her thanks to their unique lineage. Naruto learned that from his clan history and the ancient shrine that there is other stages that he can reach beyond his Super Saiyan state, but there was not sign of how to do it. He guessed it was obvious by some means, and it was better to continue training to further his power. In that time he was sure he would figure it out and add it to his repertoire of transformations that he could use. While at the same time, Naruto had sent a message to Vados wanting to continue his training with her for a while. She agreed to come and pick him up from Kyoto in a few days. Naruto was now standing in front of Yasaka and her friends while she was bowing to him. On behalf of everyone in Kyoto, I thank you for helping us out with this current problem with the Cold family. We are in your debt, she said calmly as Naruto shrugged it off. It was nothing. I couldn't stand by and watch innocent people getting killed, especially people I have become close to, he said as Yasaka blushed slightly, with Yoruichi blushing as well. Well then, as part of the deal, what is it you wish from us? Yasaka asked as Naruto thought about it for a bit, before he gave his answer. I would like to organize a set-down with you, the Shinto gods, and the Maos in order to discuss what is to be done about the Nico massacre issue, Naruto said as Yasaka sighed, figuring that was going to be brought up. I would love to, but the problem is that I know your elder council will get involved and they will not meet their demands no matter what, she said, upset as Naruto frowned. Don't worry, I will make Surzex learns that it is time to be a ruler instead of a puppet, he said as she smiled. Very well, if you can make him agree to meeting me and at the same time agreeing to the terms of us doing an investigation into who committed crimes against the Nekishu and Nikomata race, we will have more to discuss, Yasaka said as Naruto nodded his head, figuring if he couldn't get through to the fool, then there is the nuclear option, though he wanted to not use it unless absolutely necessary. Okay then. Naruto agreed as Yasaka summoned a paper from her hand and signed it with all the agreements on it, and the discussion to happen, and handed it to Naruto. At this same time, Vados appeared, bowing to them. I've arrived, Naruto-kun, she said, giving the teen a smile, one he returned. Great, hey, can we stop by the underworld first so I can discuss something with Surzex and Mother? He asked as she thought about it. Sure, we can. Then we have to get straight into training after all if you want to reach this new level as quickly as possible. Then we are going to need to jump into the fire immediately. Vados said eagerly as Naruto nodded. Naruto, who is this? Yasaka asked with Naruto smiling. This is Vados, she is my trainer, and she works for someone named Genesis. He said as Yasaka and Yoruichi paled. You're kidding. You mean she is a celestial being? Yasaka asked as Naruto raised an eyebrow. A what? He asked confused as Vados gained his attention. In short, Naruto-kun, we are beings that are closer to angels in this world, but we are considered above them, the factions, and this world's dragons. Essentially, we are the ones that guard this world and the other realms and make sure things flow as they should and for the best. If not, then we are ordered to report the world's need for demise and Genesis puts it in motion. Vados explained as he nodded. Okay. Naruto just decided to ask more about this later on, but right now he wanted to head back to the underworld. Bye everyone, hope to see you again soon, he said to the others as they smiled and waved him off. Soon Vados tapped the ground and they were gone in glowing orb that head into the sky and disappeared from sight, leaving the women sighing. He is perfect. Yasaka agreed with Yoruichi's comment. The next meeting was going to be good. Underworld. Naruto had arrived a few minutes after leaving Kyoto and saw Lord Gremory standing there. He smiled seeing his surrogate son. Naruto, good to have you home. How was Kyoto? Zeoticus asked as Naruto smiled. Tiring, had to fight a member of the Cold Clan to prevent a coup, he said, rubbing the back of his head. Are you alright? Zeoticus asked, worried for the boy as Naruto smiled. Yeah, I'm fully healed, but I'm actually here to talk to Surzex. Is he in his office? Naruto informed his surrogate father as the man nodded. Yes, he is. Head down the hall and you should find it, he said as Naruto turned to Vados. Could you stay here with Lord Gremory? I will need to do this by myself, Naruto asked her as she smiled. Of course, Naruto-kun. I will be here when you come back, she said as Naruto proceeded down the hall before arriving at two large doors and knocked. He stood in place until heard a voice from the other side of the door. Enter, the voice said as Naruto opened the door and saw Surzex standing there with large stacks of paperwork on his desk while also having Grafia standing there with a stern look on her face keeping him working. Surzex saw him and smiled. Naruto-tan. He screamed happily as Naruto sighed. Growing up here as a sibling, Naruto was treated like a little brother, so Surzex always treated him like his real sibling, even going as far as hugging him like crazy and calling him Narutan. Hello, brother. Naruto greeted him as he beamed and ran to hug him, but Grafia held him in place by his ear. Please act your age, Surzex, she said, rubbing her forehead in annoyance at her husband's actions. Come on, Grafia, I haven't seen Naruto in forever, Surzex said as she sighed and smiled slightly at Naruto. Hello, Naruto-kun, how was Kyoto? She asked as Naruto smiled at his older sister. Good. I have some stuff from there for you, Surzex. He nodded his head and Naruto went over what happened in Kyoto, even going over the fight, something that surprised the both of them as he managed to defeat someone from the Cold Clan. While they were not the strongest in the world, they were still a clan that devil tiptoed around to avoid a fight with them. Other than that, I managed to get a contract with them to agree to a sit-down, but they have some demands that must be met before that meeting happens, Naruto said as he handed him the note, and he read the demands with his eyes widening with each line he read. Once he was done, he looked at Naruto. I can meet some of these demands, but other demands I can't. The council will throw a fit if I did, he said as Naruto sighed. Surzex, to be honest, I say fuck the council. Stop being a bitch and actually do what needs to be done for the underworld. Surzex was taken back by the comment. Naruto never spoke that way to him, and Grafia was equally shocked by his bluntness. Naruto, they are an important part of the underworld. Surzex tried to reason with the Scion Prince, only for Naruto to shake his head. No, they are not. They are old relics that sit on this idea that they can push you around since you're too much of a pussy to actually do anything against them, he said with Surzex looking at him in shock. Naruto! Grafia shouted as she was not liking where this conversation was going. Shut up, Grafia. She was taken back by his words as he never spoke that way to her. Let me make this clear, Surzex, you are Lucifer. You are the leader of the underworld. Your job is not to cater to the whims of the rich, old, or those with historic lineages. Your job is to protect the entire underworld. Look at you, you fought the war they were too afraid to compete in, while they wanted to hide in their manners, ready to turn on you if things went south. Instead, they now use this as an excuse saying you owe them when you really don't. What happened to the man that wanted the best for the future generation? What happened to the man that put fear in his enemies with his very presence? What happened to the man that I looked up to? I'll tell you what happened. He became a coward, not wanting to lose some political power, and too afraid to stand up for what he believes in. You are a coward, Sirzek, and if you are not willing to hear the cries of the underworld citizens you let down, and the races that have been killed due to your lack of action, then you are unworthy of your title and dream. After his rant, Naruto was glaring at the man now. The man in front of him wasn't his brother, no, he glaring at the man that was sitting on his throne. The dog of the council. Sirzek looked in thought for a bit, and then saw that his wife was looking at him, wondering what he was going to do or say. Sirzek thought about everything he just said and came to one conclusion. He was right. He let things get this way, and he let people think they could walk all over him. He was tired of being this way and feared that if didn't do something soon, his son would be targeted next. He couldn't, no, he wouldn't allow this to happen. He would exterminate the council if they dared to threaten his family again. Looking at the paper, he signed it before he looked back at Naruto. I will send this back to Yasaka and tell her we will agree to the deal, he said as Naruto folded his arms. What about the council? He asked as he saw Sirzek's eyes darken. Don't worry, if they try I will show them that they can easily be removed from their places. Naruto smiled at his words and walked up to him and hugged his brother. Good, this is the man I always looked up to and wanted to be like, Naruto said as Sirzek hugged him back. Naruto, thanks for reminding me of the man I wanted to be. Naruto smiled and squeezed his shoulders, and Sirzek smiled. Now he was going to be the ruler that he said he would. He would be fair to all of his subjects and treat them equally, but if one stepped out of line he would deal with the matter himself. No more did the council decide his life, he would make those decisions himself. Naruto left the office and saw Vados talking to his surrogate father. We are finished here, Vados, he said as she got up from her chair and bowed to Xiaticus before standing next to Naruto. Naruto then looked around and asked him something that was bothering him. Father, where is mother? He asked as Xiaticus smiled. She is in the human world, don't worry, I'll let her know you only stopped by for work. Naruto smiled and just thought it was nothing. So they teleported out of the room, not seeing the scared look on his face. May the underworld have mercy on you, Rias, because your mother sure won't, he said, feeling pity for his daughter. Rias was panicking, she didn't know why she was here. Her mother, her powerful and dangerous mother, was standing before her, and was not happy. Her eyes did not carry the joy she saw when she was walking around the house as a child. Not the same joy she had when she saw Naruto take his first steps. No, this is a woman who was angry with his child doing something that she deemed serious, and was not going to back down from it. Venelana got the full story about what happened between her and Naruto, and was not happy. She was furious, and was ready to deliver her own punishment upon her daughter. Do you know why I am here? She asked as Rias shook her head. I heard about everything, including you attempting to give your virginity to your pawn. I know he turned you down to protect Naruto and his feelings, but that still doesn't change the situation, Venelana said as Rias panicked slightly. I was desperate, mother. She tried to reason with her, only for her mother to shake her head. It doesn't matter, you should have more faith in your peerage to win their fight instead of doing something like this, Venelana said as Rias looked down. I know that now, mother, but there is reasons for not thinking of Naruto at the time. I didn't think he liked me like that, she said as Venelana sighed. Rias, you were his whole world. To him, you were perfect back when you were children, and you were considered a perfection in his eyes. Now he can't look at you without feeling his anger boiling to the surface. Whatever convinced you to let your peerage focus on Issei alone, I can't imagine what it is. A peerage is only at its strongest if it's united. Rias, while your father and brother told me not to, I can't stand by and watch this anymore. Your peerage compared to the others is the most dysfunctional. Not only that, among the rookies you are considered the biggest joke, even among the other families, that it is grating on your father's nerves. While I am selfish and want to protect our family image, I also understand that we might have not focused on the problem here, and that is you and how your peerage operates. While at first you seemed to have a grasp with the only problem being Gasper, but it seemed to get worse as time went on. Venelana explained to her as Rias could only listen to her mother. But mother dash. She tried to interrupt, only for Venelana to raise her hand up, showing she wanted Rias to be silent. Let's start with your queen, she refuses to accept her past. While I understand that it is painful, sometimes you need to make people face reality. That they can't run from who they were at one time. You should have nipped this problem years ago, not the issues with her father but at least her hatred for her power. Next we talk about your rook. She refuses her heritage due to what happened to Kuroka. Hell, you can't say her name in front of her before she freezes up. That is your mistake. Instead of comforting her and forcing her to face her past, you let her skills dwindle to the point they nearly are non-existent, and she is only able to use her rook enhancement. Finally, there is your knight. I don't know what this jealousy is about, but you should have fixed that as well. Venelana said, picking at the mistakes Rias made. Mother, I can't change people that easily, Rias said as Venelana paused for a second. True, and I know you can't do that, but you should have confronted all of them with this. The only people that don't seem to have the problems that they do is Issei and Asia. While they have their issues, they are still new and they don't have time to fix them. But the others, on the other hand, you had them for years, so you should push the issues more because now your peerage is falling apart at the seams. Rias could only acknowledge what her mother said. She was right. She should have confronted their pasts with them and showed them that she was there with them every step of the way. Instead, she was now having to watch as they were slowly falling apart and not being able to reach the potential that she always dreamed they could. Her peerage could have been one of the strongest in the underworld, but now it was slowly falling apart, and it tore her heart to pieces. Rias, as punishment, I'm ordering you to report to me for training as a king and an heiress at the end of every week, including Friday. That means no watching anime or reading manga until I deem it. Also, your peerage, minus Issei and Asia, are exempted due to them doing their own training. Until I deem them ready, your peerage is suspended until further notice, meaning no missions, no contract work, and no extracurricular activities other than training to be stronger. As of this moment, I will also be assigning members of my peerage to the school to overlook things and make sure you don't do anything more that would hurt our family image more. I will be letting Elizabeth know this along with Sona, who I know her sister is here to talk to her about her part in this mess. Venelana said as Rias bowed to her mother, knowing that this was not a question. This was serious. One serious mess up and she would do something that she wanted to avoid at all costs. She would strip her of her king piece and keep her pieces at home until she found a place for them or Milika's was old enough. Meaning she would lose her peerage and could potentially lose any political standing she had left. Yes, mother, Rias said, upset. Good. She stood up and started a summoning circle before it flashed away, and she walked back to her daughter and hugged her. I'm sorry, Rias, but you are a big girl now and need to see your actions have consequences no matter what you think, she said in a motherly term as Rias hugged her back. I know, Mom, and I take full responsibility. Will Naruto ever forgive me, though? She asked as Venelana hummed in thought. I don't know, but I know if you never give up, one day he might look back at you. After all, he was chasing you for the longest time, and now you are chasing him. Hopefully you get that storybook ending you want, she said as Rias smiled. Yeah, I will try to, Mom, she said before Venelana kissed the top of her child's head and left. Rias was sitting there and felt someone hugging her and saw it was Akino. She had tears in her eyes. I heard everything, she said, wiping her tears. Then you know what we need to do? Rias asked as Akino nodded her head. Yeah, it will be painful, but we have to do it, Akino said as she smiled. Yeah, but for now stay here. The two best friends hugged each other closely with tears running down their face for not seeing the boy that loved them, and now, he was gone. Unknown realm. Naruto was rushing at Vados. He was throwing punches at her, but she was just smoothly ducking out of the way or just moving her body out of the way. It was like she was gliding on water and not even bothering to take him serious. She watched some flowers kick up from a dodge strike and sighed. I love spring this time of year, she said as Naruto grunted. It's pretty, now fight, he said as she continued to dodge his strikes while laughing at his failed attempts. Naruto finally threw a kick at her head, but she ducked under him, and with a sharp poke to his back he was sent flying at high speeds into the sky. He summoned his Ki, and used it to stop his flight before aiming a Ki ball at her and fired. She flicked it away and slowly floated up to him. You're faster than we when we first sparred. But you are still not good enough to catch me. She giggled and Naruto grunted again. Yo, well, let's see how you like this. He then channeled his Ki again and formed two clones of himself. They charged at her, and she was dodging all of them with ease. At this same time, she smacked one with a small chop to the back of its neck, dispelling the clone. Another came at her from behind and she simply flicked its head, sending it flying. The clone disappeared before turning to stop Naruto's punch to her face with her pinky finger. Not good enough, she said in a sing-song voice as Naruto, finally feeling his frustration getting the better of him, unleashed his SSJ state and charged at greater speeds. Even though the high gravity was slowing him down a bit, he was still moving faster than even Yoruichi. But Vados was just blocking his strikes with her pinky finger, and then dodging at other points. He was trying his hardest to hit her, but it seemed she was light years ahead of him still. I see you are getting serious, Naruto, but you remember this training is for you in your base state, right? She asked as he rubbed the back of his head. Yeah, sorry about that. I was so frustrated that I transformed without thinking or remembering the drill. he said as he turned his state off and Vado sighed. Well, it is no surprise I was using Ultra Instinct, she said, getting a confused stare. Ultra Instinct? He asked as she smiled. Yes, it is a state that I'm in constantly. I have mastery of every limb of my body to the point that I can move them without thinking. But you can't do that yet because you still have some blockage on your power. You just need more training, and in time you might even unlock this transformation, she said as Naruto nodded. Okay, so what next? He asked as she summoned her staff, then tapped the ground before Naruto felt the gravity increase. Well, since you are used to X10 gravity, I'll up the gravity to X50. You should feel the difference, she said as Naruto struggled to make steps. Moving around was difficult in its own way. Yeah, I can FFA feel it. This sucks, but if it will push me FFA farther than that is all the better, right? He asked as she nodded her head. Yes, indeed, you are going to need this level of training for what is to come. I know you defeating Cooler was tough, but there are beings out there stronger than him by light years, she said as Naruto looked at her. You mean his brother? He asked as she shook her head. No, he is weaker than his brother, and always will be. I mean, there are gods and other beings stronger than him that would wipe him out with a single glance. You need to be able to push these people if not defeat them, she said as Naruto smiled. I see, well then let's get started, he said as Vados tapped the ground again and he felt several pound weights on his back. Walk 6 miles with these on your back, and also I added weight to your clothes, so get moving. Naruto grunted and started walking while struggling to pull the weight around the planet. Vados smiled. He was close, she could sense it, he was close to the second stage of his SSJ forms. She knew all about his race and powers, so she knew the barrier he had to overcome. He had to push his power further than ever. She could tell from their fight when he transformed he was pushing the barrier of his form and was ready for the next form's power. So with time he would fully unlock that form's power and be ready for more. Her training was meant to push his rage further to where it finally exploded, and he would achieve what not even the other scions had achieved, not even his father, SSJ2. Then he would continue from there and master SSJ3, and then he will be ready to learn Senjutsu for his ascension. But that is for later. She floated away to see how he was doing, moving around with the giant's weights on his back and his weighted clothes. He was already halfway done with the first mile. He is going to be something amazing. Can't wait to put that power to a different use. A blush appeared on her face, imagining his stamina put to a different use. Time skip. Naruto had returned to Ko and was exhausted. Vados had really kicked his ass with training. While only about a week had passed in the normal world, the world they were on was like another realm that time flowed differently. For the most part, he spent about 2 months there, but the progress was amazing. He was pushing his body to limits he never knew existed and surpassing them. He felt that he was closing in on something, but he was sure that with the right motivation he would unlock it. He just had to be patient. The door opened and he saw Elizabeth standing there in a stunning spaghetti string dress that was dark orange and hugged her voluptuous frame. Hey Naruto-kun, ready for our date? She asked with a flirty smile as Naruto sighed. I just got back, too tired. She frowned at his words but smiled after. Too bad, I know this restaurant that serves this amazing ramen dash. Without warning he was standing next to her with his arm extended. Shall I escort you, my lady? She giggled at his words. She loved how simple he was. Of course. With that they proceeded out of the former office of his former king and was now heading to the restaurant. In the underworld, however, Rias was standing next to her peerage other than Issei and Asia, who were allowed to stay in the human world on the terms that they trained with some members of her mother's peerage. She was looking at her mother, and she showed them the training fields with the small house they would be staying in until they were to go back to school. Standing in the middle of the field was a dark-haired girl with a red sword and guards. She was staring at them with a blank expression on her face, with her red eyes peering at them with complete boredom. Next to her was a silver-haired girl with a black and white dress. She had red eyes and wore what many would consider a gothic Lilikan outfit. Akame and Sujintu, Razan Maiden, are going to be your teachers for the next few days. I expect you to treat my knight and bishop with respect, got it? The group nod their heads, Kiba more reluctantly since he wanted to go and hunt down the Excalibur swords, but sadly he was dragged here all thanks to that scion and his king. They're in your hands from here on out, girls, make sure you don't go easy on them, Venelana said with a small smile. Of course, my king. Sujinta smiled. I'll make sure they are twice as better than they were when they came here, right, Akame? She asked the black-haired girl, who nodded. Indeed, let's get started. She drew her sword and Sujinta gathered the magic into her hands, and Venelana left the premise to go spend time with her grandson. Rias knew one thing: this was going to be rough. While Naruto was on his date with the Phoenix heiress Rias, and her friends were sleeping at their new room after such brutal training for the last day. Then Alana was meeting with her two pieces and asking, "How did they do?" Akane looked over at Sugantu and she sighed. "Well, honestly, it is like you fear, they are all weak compared to where they are supposed to be with their potential. First, forgive me, lady, but I would like to talk about Rias first. Go ahead, I sent both of you to her to evaluate her strength and power, not to protect my feelings." "Very well, the truth is, lady, while her power is tremendous, it is not developed enough. More, she can use her pod well for a single concentrated blast, but has put no creativity in her uses and ways to use less in her attacks. I compare it to Surzak-sama for the case that he can do this successfully with his orbs of destruction. He limits the amount of power and focuses more on his control of using them, and using several of them in battle at a time. Rias can't do this, and her social skills are expected for a wizard-centric training." "I see. Well, then we are going to need to change that. Show her how to be more creative with her magic Swignitu and at the same time get her running several physical courses, got it?" "Yes, ma'am." Akame stepped up next. "The next one that is a problem is Akino, her queen. She is above her in creativity in her magic and has slightly better physical skills. But sadly, that is all. She is barely above her in all of these areas. On top of that, she has a problem with her past that still seems to be holding her back from using her power to the fullest potential. So I would like to rectify this as soon as possible in the hopes she can let go of the pain and move forward to honor Rias's decision of saving her." Indeed, her father and mother a touchy subject, but she is a big girl now, so it is time to talk more about the issue at hand. "Ma'am, would it be possible to just leave it to the mother for now? I think the father problem should only be dealt with when her father actually bothers to make an appearance." "Fine, that is ideal for me, but we need her to be able to master her holy lighting sometime in the near future, got it?" Akane bowed her head. "Of course, now moving on the Nekasha, she is still relying on her rook attributes, and not learning to expand her arsenal at this point." "I see. Well, then she should be happy to know that there are others out there from what I was able to find out from my son. If there is one out there, I might be able to get her to help out with this problem, no?" "Yes, but the problem is that we studied that if she does not start using her chakra and start studying senjutsu, her body is going to never develop properly." "I will contact my son later today then to get that dealt with it." "Thank you, my king. Now on to the knight, who we both have agreed is the worst of the group. We recommend constant monitoring for if he goes out and becomes a stray." "How so?" Akame nodded her head to her friend and she took over. "First, he has tried many times leaving the training grounds by teleportation or just running. We had to find him and bring him back many times, and it has become tedious to the point Akame almost killed him." "I see. Is there a reason?" "Yes, from what Rias has told us, apparently the holy swords are in the city, and he was out hunting them to destroy them for his own need of revenge." Akame scoffed. Revenge was something that was pointless. Yes, she had revenge against her enemies in the past that killed many of her closest friends, but she never held on to that rage for long. It left you empty and feeling alone in the world still, especially if you made them the central point of your entire life. He was going down that same road, but it looked like Rias couldn't control him anymore. Akame added, "I recommend we assign someone to watch him more permanently, because she looked over to her right and sighed, forgive me, it would seem he is making a run for it still." Akame was gone and the other two quickly followed and found them outside the manor, and saw Kiba pinned to the ground with Akame holding her foot on his neck. "You are trying my patience, and trust me, you don't want to push my patience any further," he growled at her. "Let me go, I need to go back." "Sorry, but that is not going to be option for you anymore." Then Alana sighed. This was more reasoning. She feared her daughter being king. If her peerage acted like this, then what was the point of having a king piece? "Kiba Yudo, continue with this and our family will consider you a stray and execute you now. My revenge must be met." "Is that worth losing your friends in the process?" he growled more. "Yes, if I'm answering honestly, I would leave them behind to avenge the children that were lost in those damn experiments." "I see," turning to Swignitu, "do it." She bowed to her king and without a warning she placed a rune on Kiba's body. It had a dark purple glow, and disappeared. "What did you do to me?" "I trapped you here on these grounds. Only me and my king can remove it, and until you understand why you are here you can't leave the grounds. Your magic will lock up every time and prevent you from moving more than 10 feet off the grounds." "No, I need my revenge. He is in code dash. He was knocked out by Akame." "Please shut up, you are extremely annoying." Venelana sighed. "I'm sad to ask this, Akame, but please put him in your wing of the house. It would seem he needs to be monitored much closer than the others at this point, no?" Yes, my lady. While I came dragged the boy away, Venelana could only wonder. How did things get this bad? I don't know, my king, but I believe the others are on the right path of fixing their problems and becoming allies to Naruto-sama. True, turning her head, keep up the training. My lady, may I ask who you sent to train the other two in the human world? She smiled. Oh, I called in a favor and had a certain dragon come and take Issei away for most days of hardcore training. The other one, well, I just sent out the best medic in the Gremory family. I see, thank you for letting me know, my king. Watching her piece go back into the house for some rest herself, Venelana returned to her own room to get some sleep. It was going to be a busy few days. Human world. Issei was running for his life in a nearby mountain range that was blocked from those that were not supernatural. In his dash, he was being attacked by a large dragon with golden horns and wearing a brown cloth around his crotch. This man was known as the Dragon King of one time, and now a special friend to the underworld. Many consider him one of the strongest reincarnations of peerage pieces, but someone that rarely was sent out to fight others in his wake. Right now, he was asked by Venelana to help train her daughter's pawn, who was in possession of a powerful sacred gear but did not have the training needed yet. He agreed due to her family being kind to him and helping him meet his wife currently, so he agreed to meet the boy and start training him. Sadly, the sessions were proving slow. He was not brave by any means and did not wish to face him head-on. His magical power was below that of an infant devil that he has seen. He can't teleport, his stamina was bad, and he seemed to lack luster that most would have at his age. Overall, he was not impressive, but his love and passion for protecting his friends and that none were inspiring that he had the potential to become stronger. So to recidify this, he was giving him hardcore training to try and bring out his inner dragon, but it was proving fruitless. On the other side was someone that was teaching Asia the arts of healing and means of countering people who would come after her in a fight. She had blonde hair, a blue diamond on her forehead, and considerably large bust that had most men drooling. This was Tsunade Senju, former priestess that served under the Senju banner until her bastard of a cousin Danzo tried to use her as a breeding tool for their family. The family rallied with him but were wiped out when one of the devils was caught in the crossfire, and they murdered the poor teen without remorse. She felt regretful. She reported this to the factions, and they wiped them out without remorse. To pay for her sins, she agreed to become someone's peerage member, and that led to her becoming the bishop to Venelana. Honestly, she loved working with the woman and training in her art of combat rather than the clans. Today she was here to teach the blonde girl how to fight defensively, and how to improve medically. She was the foremost doctor that even the Sidri family comes to get training from her. Many consider her the brightest medic in the history of the world and someone that was respected by all. So when she was given the chance to teach someone with twilight healing, she knew the potential was near endless for her. But she was soft-hearted and hated fighting, something she was going to drill into her that she needed to get past soon. From there, she knew that she would become a force in the near future. Her training was going better with Asia eager to learn under the legendary medic. She learned some of the basic healing spells and more on the side of actual medicine. In the time they were together, she learned all the herbs and basic remedies she needed but was still struggling in the combat situation. Tsunade told her, Asia, I know you don't like fighting, but you have to understand that it is going to be expected at some point. You don't want your allies to get hurt fighting for you, do you? Don't you want to contribute more to the team that you are on at this time? Do you want Issei to finally clamor towards you now? Yes. Then we need to bump you up to where at least if someone gets close to you, a single slap or flick will send them flying and out cold, leaving you a chance for survival, okay? Alright, I will try. From there she flourished under the training and was ready for almost anything that was considered mid-class threats. But with Issei getting his training, they could probably hold off some high-class threats on their own, but that was still stretching it a bit. They would need more training, and that is what they were going to get. However, in a dark church under darkness there was something stirring. Kokabeel, the great dark fallen angel and the war enthusiast, was currently dying. He had a hole in his stomach and most of his men were dead, including Freed and the others that worked on the Great Holy Swords project. Standing there was Vala, who was watching in boredom while Koflia was standing on his back with her pinky in her ear. You really should have listened to Azazel when calling off this attack. Screw you. She grinned. You wish you could, but sadly that will never happen. A green orb came to be in her hand and aimed it at him. Goodbye, fool. He was covered in the Ki blast and turned into a dark outline on the ground. Wiping the dust off her clothes, a purple top and baggy white pants and golden boots, Vala sighed. You know we were supposed to capture the fool. She scoffed. Yeah, right, like I would waste more time with him. You know it, and I know it. He was more trouble than his title was worth. True, but orders were orders. Koflia glared at the teen. And does Azazel know about your alliances then? The teen froze. You think you are so damn clever, but the truth is I knew about your current activities. More, I knew you were sneaking around with some other group. Your personal goals are too easy to read, and I knew for a fact that it would lead you to betraying the man that saved you. What are you going to do about it then? She shrugged her shoulders. You still have time, so I'll let it go for now, but I promise you if you dare harm the old man I will kill you, got it? Vala flinched at the dark look she was giving him and knew she was serious. While he was strong with his sacred gear, he couldn't use it against her thanks to the mastery of Ki. It flowed differently than anything the gear could process. The one time he did try it on her, he coughed up blood. He explained that due to the uniqueness of Ki and the power flowing in her, he could not contain it, meaning it was useless. So she was stronger and more dangerous than anyone that he has ever met in his life. So now that is dealt with, the next step of my plan can begin. Which is? She smiled. Why, I'm going to that school on Sunday and going to raise hell. Vala sighed. Is this to challenge that scion there? Yep, he is someone that I wanted to fight for a while. His power is so toxicating it makes me super excited about fighting. Plus I want to see if he is really strong like his father Vegeto. I can't wait to see, I guess. What about the others that might get involved? Don't worry, they won't interfere once I make my challenge. Vala prayed for once in his life this did not come to bite him in the ass with Azazel. Naruto had just gotten done with his date with Elizabeth, and honestly he was surprised how well it went. He was expecting some problems with her wanting everything perfect. The rumors around her was that displeased her, and she would make your life a living hell for it. But she was actually very understanding and laughed off all of his goof-ups. Even when he spilled some of his drink on his shirt, she was laughing. It was definitely a way to get wet in this situation, but she would prefer if it was her. That got a light blush, and honestly she was eager for him, and he was a little curious why. But as of lately he had not seen Rias or the rest of the peerage. Hell, he was expecting to at least find Kiba trying to find the holy swords all over town, but he seemed to be missing himself. Issei was even gone, and he thought he would at least find him perving on Asia or somewhere at school, but he was not there. Finding them gone, he wondered where they could have possibly gone at this point. Hell, even the nun girl was missing, and he was scratching his head where they could have possibly gone at this point. He was relaxing in what was the ORC room for a while before heading off for his afternoon training with Vados. She told him that she was ready to step up his training by increasing the weights to push his body even further than before. While at the same time, Naruto was certain that he was going to reach a new level soon. Plus, with Elizabeth running things in the school and the city, there was no one stupid enough to try and attack. An explosion rocks the ground and Naruto was on alert immediately. Summoning some minor magic, he changed his casual clothes into his dark GI outfit and headed out of the building through the window. He looked around sensing for the attacker and found it was behind him. Turning, he saw a girl with black spiky hair and wearing a purple top that barely covered her and white baggy pants. From this he saw she was standing in midair with a smug smirk on her face while facing off against the two exorcists on the ground below. Floating up to her, he glared. Who are you? Name's Konoha and I'm a Saiyan just like you. This caused Naruto to be shocked. I thought my father was the last one of our kind before me? She laughed. True, but some of us managed to escape and go into hiding. Hell, I only know about 3 others that exist in this world, and even then they are hard to find. I see, so then why are you here and why are you attacking the exorcists? She grinned and summoned some magic and threw him an object. Catching it, he saw it was the head of the former priest that ran the Holy Swords project. Recognize him? Yeah, this is the asshole that did the sword experiment, what of it? She smiled. Well, you should know that he and Kokobile were working together to try and start another great war. But unfortunately for them, I was there to kill them and their followers. Along with keeping the swords, I'm here for a completely selfish reason. That would be me, I guess? She nodded her head. Correct, you see, you're the prince of our race. Not just any scion, but rumors say that you are the strongest of our kind too, with you achieving the legendary state SSJ. So what if I had? Konoha unfolded her arms and got in a stance. Well then, let's see if you live up to the rumors, yes? Naruto narrowed his eyes and measured her power. She was strong, stronger than Cooler, but how strong was the question. Getting in his own stance, they faced off with each other before dodging a blast of a holy pistol wielded by Zenobia. We will not be ignored. Return the holy swords to us now. Konoha growled. Stay the fuck out of my business. She summoned a green Ki orb and flung it at the girls. Naruto quickly got in front of the orb and swatted it away. Konoha used this chance to grab him by the neck and fly him across the school to a nearby forest. The two priests were left there shocked. That boy saved their lives and was willing to take her on to protect them. Well, not true, he was going to fight her anyway, but who was going to change their minds on this? At the forest, Naruto managed to break free from Koflia's grip and was floating across from her. From there, he was willing to go all out at this point. He figured it was going to be needed with how strong she was. So charging forward, he threw a barrage of strikes at her head, but she dodged with ease. With them going on like this for a few seconds, she stopped a knee to her stomach before pushing it down. She rushed him with a right hook to the head. Naruto stopped the punch before throwing a roundhouse at her head. She ducked the strike before elbowing him in the stomach, sending him flying away. Naruto regained his bearings just in time to block several powerful punches to his head. He then tripped her in midair and sent an elbow into her back. From this point, she stopped herself before hitting the trees and roared, "Take this!" She turned around and fired a large concentrated green orb at him. Naruto flew out of range of the attack and it exploded in the sky, sending shockwaves throughout the entire area. "Geez, are we sparring or trying to kill each other?" She was on him again and throwing powerful strikes at his head. But he blocked most of the punches, but he could feel the pain in his arms growing over time. Naruto dropped down below her and summoned a black orb into his hand and fired it at her stomach, sending her into the sky. From this attack, she was met with a vicious left hook, sending her head to the left. There, he continued throwing punches at her head with kicks coming into her body. This barrage carried on for a few minutes with him not slowing down, and Koflia only getting some minor bruising. Finally, she screamed in rage and a green barrier pushed Naruto back and covered her. Her eyes were going white from the pure rage she was feeling in losing this fight. She never lost. Only when the really strong and smart fighters come can she lose a fight. This was not a fight she should be losing in this case. Once the green barrier was gone, her rage came back and she rushed him again, trying to take his head off with powerful punches. But Naruto was ducking underneath them and avoiding the blows. But he could feel the power from them was enough to put him in the ground if he was not careful in this battle. Finally, he countered one of the powerful punches and sent her crashing into the ground with a massive explosion. In the crater, he saw her rage was spiking again, and her power was increasing once more. It was amazing. She was already so strong, and she was only getting stronger at this point. What was the exact limit of her power in this fight? Naruto decided to chide her a bit to get her angrier. "You know you are going to lose, right? Your own strength is your greatest weakness." She roared once more, but this time with the green barrier appearing, she fired off Ki blasts all around her, and sending them in all directions. The power she was releasing was insane for this fight, but it was something he was prepared for at this point. This gets much more out of hand. I might have to go SSJ just to knock her out, and if worse, kill her. Naruto put his hand in front of him, gathered a dark blue orb in his hand, and said, "Feel this. Big Bang attack." The attack fired and hit the girl, causing the crater to expand from the power that hit her. But she showed to be unharmed thanks to her Ki shield. Well, it would have seemed. Naruto saw some singes on her body, showing some of the power got through her shield. "I get it, the shield stops physical attacks, but it can't fully stop power moves like our own. Meaning she is using her Ki to counter magic users. Neat trick, might want to come up with something similar in the near future for myself." Naruto dashed at her this time and started engaging in a fist fight on the ground. This is where he proved he was better than her by moving faster than her and catching her with counters. He managed to hit her in the ribs from an overextending punch, kick to the head due to an ill-placed uppercut, and a drop kick due to her throwing one leg out for a front kick. It seemed the longer they fought, the sloppier her attacks became over time. Koflia was pissed. She was losing, and that was something she swore to her mother she would not do. She would not lose to someone that is the same as her. She was the strongest, she had to win this no matter what it took. With one mighty roar, she was covered in a dark green aura again, and her body started bulging up with the raw power she was releasing. From there, Naruto saw her eyes were pupilless, and she was getting angrier and angrier as time was going on. "Damn it! She is transforming, but I don't know what this is." Ack. Naruto was hit in the stomach and his train of thought was stopped. She took her other hand and hit him across some trees, sending him crashing into all of them. Gaining his bearings, he flew into the sky and started to try and locate her. But she was in front of him again, and brought her hands down as a double axe handle to his head. He went crashing into the ground once more, leaving him vulnerable to a powerful punch in his back. The impact of the attack caused him to cough up some blood and feel the pain radiating throughout his body. "Damn it!" Naruto summoned more of his Ki, and caused a small explosion separating him from her. It was insane. With a few blows he was already sure his ribs were broken, or at least bruised badly. But her, she looked like she could continue on a few more rounds at this point. There was one thing he noticed that made him stop thinking that this was a transformation. Her body is only enhancing her physical strength, and not anything else at this point. Her power is growing, but she has only a small burst of speed when it comes to closing the distance. Otherwise, her body is slowing down, leaving her open to faster opponents, and luckily I'm one of those people. But her strength also means increased durability.